All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in. The NFL draft is about to start, and the Titans are about to be on the clock. It's going to be an exciting night, chat. Round one of the NFL draft is always a good time. There's some projected drama. The problem is, I mean, of course, with anything, chat, you never know how the drama necessarily will escalate because right now the conversations are what are teams going to do in terms of trading up into the end of the first round and try to maybe get some of the value of some of the quarterbacks start to drop a little bit. But if the teams feel like them trading up into the first, just like, do they start talking themselves up? Well, if we're going to trade in the first round, do they trade in the teams? Do they trade in and then maybe a team is already sitting with like, well, hey, screw it. We'll just take the quarterback where we're at. I don't think it's going to be, a team that's at 2 or 3, but just in general, I mean, of course, tonight we'll just have to see how it's going to play out. And we've also got some NBA basketball on in the background as well too. People, don't forget the NBA playoffs are still going on. The Pistons versus the Knicks, the series goes to Detroit. So I mean, I guess a big night for the Midwest. The NFC North cities. Oh man, what is this? Roger Goodell on a bicycle, chat? Does Roger Goodell think he's cool? He's waving to the crowd. Does Roger Goodell think he's popular? Roger Goodell, go off the stage! Pedal off the stage, Roger Goodell. There's a couple of close moments here. I don't know what the insurance policy is on the commissioner on a bicycle, chat. Everybody on a bicycle. Am I missing something? Maybe this is some obvious Green Bay stuff. I mean, oh, Lil Wayne? Lil Wayne on a bicycle? Can we protect this man, chat? The Carter 6. I mean, I think it's turned in, hopefully. Okay, he's off the bike now, so we're safe. He can still, if there's any final edits that needs to be made to the Carter 6, then any final edits at this point, chat, we shall see. But Clay Matthews making a reappearance in Green Bay. Green Bay, Wisconsin legends. Yeah, Roger Goodell is in a a good move, and then he just got booed right there by the fans. So. Really brought him back to earth. But, a couple shout outs to the cities, couple shout outs to the legends, and then you're right back on track. So the Titans are going to be, like we said, on the clock at number 1. And there was an interesting report as well, too, an interesting way to kind of look at the value of this number 1 overall pick. Because, again, we have known, I think, for some time it's going to be Cam Ward. I mean, they did some whip around thing here, chat, on ESPN like 5 minutes before we actually started the actual draft portion of the night. And, the draft time period, I guess, of the night. And they just, like, went to all the insiders and all the teams, and they were just like, okay, let's just rip through the top 10 picks and just get the intel. So I get that's the point. But also it's like, oh, well, there goes your draft show as well, too. But, I mean, again, we all know what this situation is going to be. It's going to be the Titans. But the report was basically that they're not going to move off of the number 1 pick, essentially. So, there's a lot of things that just go into that outside of them. The evaluation of Cam Ward is one thing, which is an important aspect to it as well. But you never know what the offers were. If there was anything, if no team was willing to overpay in this draft necessarily to move up to number 1, then it's not necessarily a hot take for them to be like, okay, well, we'll just still take a guy at a position of need, the most valuable position on the field that we actually need. Because again, people were talking about the greater quarterback class in general as, compared to some of the others, what that would be, chat. And, we'll see what ends up happening to the rest of it as well, too, over the course of the night. It's going to be, that's going to be the interesting thing, is to see where some of these guys tumble to, chat. But with Cam Ward, anyways, again, he's been that solidified number 1 guy. So I don't know if we have to remove him separate of the quarterback. And again, it's all pre-draft. It's the pre-draft conversation as well, too, chat, that we should mention, of course, because, post-draft, anything can happen, I guess. But just in terms of the hype that we have going in for some of these guys pre-draft. But again, Cam Ward has kind of been solidified at that number 1 spot. And the Titans themselves are saying they are, again, like locked in on taking Cam Ward. So that idea of them, because again, like you look at Caleb Williams last year, and Caleb Williams was that if you have the number 1 pick and you have to take Caleb Williams, that generational guy. And again, maybe that was the how that developed his generational label over the course of his career at USC. But still, he ended up being the number 1 pick in that draft and was still pretty solidified in that role. But again, maybe there's some conversation about, and I think as well too, the greater Caleb Williams piece as well too is like, where would you rank Caleb Williams as a player in the draft versus a player at his position? Pause. And in some of those early Caleb Williams USC days, it's like, well, this guy's 99 overall prospect going into the draft, like easily the best football player. And not saying he wasn't. I'm just saying the conversation was opened up a little bit to some of the other skill players there by the time we actually got to the pick. But again, you could debate maybe best player available, Abdul Carter, best Travis Hunter, Mason Graham, chat. Do they just try to build the roster in that way if they're not, okay, Cam Ward is the generational prospect. But again, the idea of being like, okay, no, Cam Ward meets that criteria of we don't feel the need to look elsewhere for the value, because that becomes the other part of Galaxy braining out the trade for the quarterback is, again, you could be getting more value in return in terms of the number of picks or whatever, but you are still passing up on the opportunity to take that guy. So Cam Ward meets that threshold of, we don't feel like we need to go around, shop picks, try to build this team out in a different way and get the quarterback. So I'm not saying, again, he bare minimum gets past the mark. It's more so just there's like a draft. It's not just a draftability thing with him or a first round grade, or again, even just like we have to take him. He's the best quarterback and we need a quarterback. But there is sort of maybe more of a valuation of him overall in terms of the actual class at his position. Like, let's see chat, should we check? Like, where does ESPN have him overall on their board? Yeah, so they have him 8th. So that's not like super crazy, They're still generally saying he's a top 10 football player in this class. And again, like Hunter and Ginty, 2 historic players. Abdul Carter as an edge rusher is absolutely outstanding, and there's no reason that he wouldn't be at that specific position as well too. A number 1 overall pick, like we're saying. The Michigan guys, Colson Loveland offensively as well too. They're even putting him as a better football player than Will Johnson, Chad. 1, 2, and 3 right here with these 3 guys. And I think it's pretty stacked as well. It's going to be a good first round, Chad. There's a lot of talent on the board here for sure. But Pierce, I forgot about our guy Pierce. I haven't seen his name. I forgot about even his name as well too, for thinking about where the Colts are going to pick at. But yeah, there's a lot of exciting guys left to go here. But they are, I guess, they didn't turn the pick in right away. There's still 7:50 left on the clock. I don't know if maybe they are lying. It's all lies, Chad. At the end of the day, it's all deception. But I guess I was curious about hearing that report, because that's something I was thinking about. It was like, okay, what is the trade value, I guess, of Cam Ward? And you think about that generally with the number 1 picks. But again, it's like, okay, is his I guess the other conversation as well too was his trade value be hurt by the fact that the quarterback class itself is a little bit lower? Like, is there a proper evaluation of Cam Ward as as the player compared to the Cam Ward, the member of the 2025 quarterback class as well too? But again, I think we're generally going to lean more positive towards some of the quarterback stuff, chat. We just tend to be sort of an optimistic thinker, I guess, when it comes to this stuff. I guess maybe we're just the type, like, if we were a coach, we'd just be like, yeah, chat, we could turn him around. I guess we could, we'd be the ones that'd be able to, I don't know, maybe there is some, I don't know who, if we need to do the list of guys, it's like the hopeless prospects list, chat. No, shout out, we'll never do that, I guess. But I guess never say never. But, yeah, I guess, again, I wouldn't be shocked if any of the, and I guess I say top 3 for us as well too. I don't know if Shedeur's even fallen to 4th as well on some of the, NFL boards at this point behind Slaw. But between Shedeur, Dart, and of course Cam Ward, I wouldn't be surprised if any of those 3 guys became, if not all 3, above, I used to say, above average. Who knows what that line is, chat? But quality NFL starters for multiple seasons. I would not be surprised if there was really good careers and really good moments from all 3 of those guys, because again, they get the, and maybe you argue about some of the physical traits for Shedeur as well too, but there's a mentality as well that's there. Okay, the Titans are on the phone with 5.5 left, so the call is being made, the pick is in. I think Marvin Bagley for the Kings still holds the record for the quickest. Do we need to do a Guinness book, like the quickest a draft pick has ever been made? And, we'd have to start getting into, the other drafts, chat, be a little bit crazy. But, the other sports drafts. And, I get the Pat Mahomes comps, chat. It's easy. I think we compared Walter Clayton to Steph Curry in the in the March Madness tournament this year, chat. So the great players, it's just easy to throw their names around out there and compare these guys to him. And again, you watch so much, it's easy to see the good traits extension. And again, those good traits as well too, like players are subconsciously and maybe consciously as well too going to be emulating what Pat Mahomes and what the top guys are doing in the league when they're playing the sport themselves. So Cam Ward is going to resemble Pat Mahomes because he's going to be, again, trying to do the things that Pat Mahomes is trying to do. But I some of the Reed stuff, I guess they're saying is a little sketchy with him, which is a little bit concerning. Like, I guess there wasn't I guess it was Slaw who, if we did like a processing rankings, which is an interesting one because Purdy was, I think, a pretty good processor for it. Do we need to go look up at the Wonderlic scores, chat, and see what happened? But I mean, the great career as well too, most touchdowns by Division I quarterback in history, and started at Incarnate Word. So does Incarnate Word get credit for this pick? Like, I mean, I guess they're gonna get Cam Ward's gonna be on the wall of athletes in the hallway leading into the gym, where it's like, here's all the notable players that have been to Incarnate Word, and there's gonna be a big Cam Ward picture up there. But like, statistically, if it's schools with number 1 overall picks, does Incarnate Word have one now? Is there, like, what are the best schools out there without number 1 overall picks as well? Would be I guess an interesting list potentially. But no longer Incarnate Word, chat. Not that there wouldn't be some, I mean, talent can obviously beat any school. Not there hasn't been some smaller and even smaller Power 5 schools, mid-majors, whatever, FCS, whatever levels. But shout out Incarnate Word. I mean, even North Dakota State has had like a couple of 2 and 3 overall picks with, is that the right school, chat? Carson Wentz, Trey Lance, North Dakota State, but never actually the number 1 overall pick. But then again, those guys again, they never didn't. Carson Wentz never transferred to Miami. So would Carson Wentz have? Would he have? That would have been interesting. Carson Wentz, because he would have been playing against Jameis, I guess, in the ACC, and it would have. Or wait, Carson Wentz, Jared Goff. Thinking Jameis and Mariota, chat, whatever. But here we go. The pick is in. Goodell's at the podium. Cameron Ward, chat, from Miami. There it is. It's official. And going to the AFC South, of course, so he's going to be matched up against the Colts a couple times a year. And an interesting point in the timeline of quarterbacks going into the AFC South as well, too, because, again, just ways to think about this as the number 1 overall pick. Like, the guys that some of these teams have taken, and, who knows, like, could Cam Ward play as good as Trevor Lawrence, chat, in the NFL? I mean, it's, the bar is whatever the bar is set. Like, I don't think that would be the craziest hot take in the world. But if you look at the hype that Trevor Lawrence had going into Jacksonville, and even Stroud being a number 2 overall pick. Uh-oh, chat. Trade alert at number 2. Trade back. Jacksonville is trading up, so they have to be trading up for Hunter. Jacksonville wanted a receiver this whole time. That's crazy, chat. You never know. It probably wasn't going to be from one of the quarterbacks at this point. Again, we know what the NFL thinks of the other quarterback prospects behind Cam Ward. They're going to target them later in the first round here. We'll probably see these guys go at some point tonight. The draft room looks really sick, chat. The shot going up for the athletes where they get their pictures, really cool. The green room setup is pretty nice, it looks like. So, well done, Green Bay. Seems like they're winning with the hosting abilities. But, again, Jacksonville sitting at 5 was a potential G&T team as well. Again, you want to add weapons, so who's the best maybe weapon in this draft? In a lot of, if we're just going mock draft style, I mean, Travis Hunter was off the board, I guess, to Cleveland at that number 2 spot. But I know that Jacksonville was linked to Tet McMillan for a while, so I guess that's probably what threw us off of the Travis Hunter case was, if they were linked to Travis Hunter, then, they would have been linked. There maybe have been more rumors about them trading up or something, or again, just that maybe being a thing. But it was more, do they trade back? Is it going to be G.T. versus McMillan? But Cleveland as well, too, trading away from the Travis Hunter pick is interesting. And I guess Jacksonville is... Are they trying to flip this pick into something else, chat? Or is the... I guess, do we need to time out how long it takes to get the card from the draft room to Goodell? Because, I mean, that technology, I feel like... who knows, chat? It's not like all the group chats are secure these days as well. But I feel like that technology is pretty advanced where you could just get that message in pretty easily and let Goodell know kind of right away. You know, you can't even have just like a joint Google Doc with all the teams, chat. Imagine. And then just when the team's ready to make the pick, they just go up to the board and then just type it in. And then Goodell just looks over and he goes, okay, wait a second. The Jaguars are typing. Travis Hunter. Oh, wait a second. The Jags GM is backspacing, chat. He was at Travis Hunter and then he backspaced it out. And now, oh no, he's going Travis Hunter again. Okay. I thought it was going to be Tech McMillan there for a second, but then they said, you know, who knows how they end up changing the pick technology, chat. But anyways, they're letting it run down here a little bit. So who knows? Are they deliberate? Did they trade up number 2 for Ted McMillan? Is this like a 49ers Mac Jones Trey Lance scenario where somebody in the draft room is like had saved his one last A+ Ted McMillan case point for just in case they were going to trade up for Travis Hunter, and he's like, oh well, you know, well, it's code red, chat, for the Ted McMillan case. We've got to just use our last final A+ pro and con list item that we can use. But the Travis Hunter piece of this is interesting because, I mean, in a lot of situations, like we were saying, and here's the full trade, chat. So Jacksonville gets a 2nd, a 4th, and a 6th in this pick, and the Browns get a 5th, a 2nd, and a 4th, and then a 1st in 2026. So Jacksonville giving up their 1st in 2026 for a wide receiver, chat. And I get the idea of going all in on Liam Cohen and Trevor Lawrence and building up that offense and going in on the foundational piece that you already had there, again, in that franchise quarterback. And sorry, chat, we're all over the place right now, but the pick is in. I guess we'll just let the pick be official here, and then we'll start diving into it. Or I guess they're gonna take a while, chat. Who knows? But I get the idea of them going all in on that offense, and you just say, hey, Trevor Lawrence is our guy. We need to figure out whether or not the franchise is going to be able to be placed, you know, with him at the quarterback position, and whether or not it's going to be viable going forward. But this might be a situation where they actually need him to play both ways now, chat. They just gave up a 1st-round pick for him next year. They just traded 2 players for Travis Hunter, so they might actually need Travis Hunter to be 2 players. Because if you're trading, the idea of, and with all due respect, I love Travis Hunter as a player, but again, entering the AFC South, and Trevor Lawrence at one point was, like we were saying with the Cam Ward thing, a scary player to have and enter into the division at the quarterback position for another team. And maybe it is more of a Trevor Lawrence piece of it than it is a Travis Hunter piece of it, but is Travis Hunter elevate this team enough, chat? As, you know, a fellow Colts fans, I don't know if we need to speak up in this, in this moment, but does he elevate the fear factor of this team enough to say that is worth that value of a pick in the future draft? Maybe a future 2nd, but again, you're trading up to the number 2 pick in the draft as well. You're getting a pretty high value spot there, and they're getting some decent stuff back. They get some good picks back in this draft, so they're still gonna have a chance to really put together, again, some pieces for this team. And if you're Travis Hunter as well too, is this a win? Is this a win that you get to go from Jacksonville to Cleveland? And again, we assume it's all Travis Hunter. The pick is still not official. I guess, what do we got, a guest picker for the Jaguars? So maybe that was the confusion, is they thought he was going to be at pick 5, and then, like, hurry, we got to get him over here now. The trade is in. Who do we got, chat? Is this Solomon Thomas, chat? Who do we got going? Did he play for the Jags last year? Shout out. Oh, Armstead, chat. Shout out Armstead making his way. It was somebody from the Niners on the Jags that just continued that good community impact, I guess, from West Coast to South Coast. And the AFC South continued. I mean, I guess that all the fans, it does seem like they're strong groups of all the fans, chat. They panned to a Colts section earlier, and it was like, okay, there's a pretty strong Colts section there. They just panned to the Jags section, pretty strong Jags section. But shout out to Armstead as well, too, chat, for winning Walter Payton Man of the Year. Of course, a great honor. But they had to find him a little bit earlier, I guess. And gotta be one of the probably cleaner fits we're gonna see at the night as well, too. Very subtle, sort of the same color there with that Jaguars color. But again, that's fitting the color of the team that he's representing is a nice move here. And we should mention as well that, like we said, we did have a little NBA playoffs in the background. The Knicks versus the Pistons. That game is about to hit halftime. Oh, Cade gets kind of swatted by Towns. Kind of a bad shot. But it's 66-53 going into the half right now. The Knicks are up by 13. And because of some of the streaming stuff going on, I mean, shout out to TNT for still having the TNT broadcast, TNT overtime broadcast. There we go, chat. Travis Hunter, the pick is official. It has been made. But we're having to watch the TNT overtime broadcast. But if I remember, chat, because I used to watch this back in the day when I was a kid before I started paying for some of the streaming stuff. But they used to not have the score up, if I was mistaken. Or maybe if we went to the mobile version, like maybe the score graphic wouldn't be there. I don't know. But I guess in the TV version, the score is there. So now it's honestly kind of, I don't want to say it's better than the normal broadcast, but it's kind of nice, again, just knowing the time and the clock situation and what's going on, that some of the over the backboard cam is kind of a good look. I don't mind watching the game, at least just mixing up the angles. Pause. I don't mind it. It's fun. And again, and they do, I guess, I'm trying to remember as well. Maybe what they used to do was, did they have the broadcast in the old one? Or was it just the audio of the game? I don't remember, chat. I want to say they had maybe the broadcast really quiet for some reason, like you're like overhearing it from the sideline, like somebody just sitting in row one with a microphone, and then that's picking up the audio. They're tapping into that. But I mean, make no mistake, chat, Travis Hunter is a scary player to enter the team and to be competing against, and is going to be a menace to game plan against. I'm not saying that. It is, again, though, a lot to give up for a guy that, we'd love to think that he could play two ways. I'm not doubting that he can. But the idea, I guess, becomes if he doesn't and you commit him now to one position and he's just that wide receiver, is he now? And again, we're not talking about Travis Hunter, the number 2 overall pick in the draft. We're talking about the team building aspect of trading a first round pick for a wide receiver in the future. And even for a corner as well, too. I mean, from the 2 to the 5, I guess we'd have to go back and pull up that trade chat. I know did they get a second this year, or did Cleveland also get the second? Did ESPN draft board here update that quick? I guess we could just go back here and see if they have a Schefter feed. There's no way they don't, chat. You just got to have the Schefter Twitter just locked in. Okay, with tonight's trade, the Browns are now armed to select a quarterback with this or next year's draft. This is from Schefter's Twitter. They currently own 3 of the top 36 picks. Number 5, number 33, the first pick tomorrow night. Number 36, the 4th pick tomorrow night. And they own the 2026 Jaguars first round. I mean, that is a crazy pick, chat. I mean, and maybe it's not, again, like we're saying, a negative Travis Hunter piece, because I think we all really understand what his talent is, even if he is a one-position player. Either way, I think we all value him to play both of those positions very highly, whichever one he was, if he had to, whichever one he was able to commit to. But this, like we're saying, is also a bet on Trevor Lawrence, and I like the idea of them again, putting talent around him in the draft, that makes a ton of sense. And, you know, I guess if Travis Hunter was there at 5, there's no reason you're not going to take him. The Tet McMillan case becomes a little interesting, but again, if you're trading back and you're taking Tet McMillan as much as he is debated in this draft, I don't mind it, chat. I kind of like Tet McMillan as a prospect. I'm in. So, again, the bet in Trevor Lawrence in that way is fine, but the bet in Trevor Lawrence when you start giving up for future first, because again, if Trevor Lawrence goes south and Travis Hunter is having a good rookie season, I mean, we saw what Malik Neighbors did last year, chat, and the Giants, and Malik Neighbors didn't play a ton, and Malik Neighbors had a couple of games where, you know, he kind of swung the game as well too. So could Travis Hunter swing a couple of games? Absolutely, but is he going to make them an 11-win team? I mean, he can make them an 11-win team if Trevor Lawrence, I guess, can make them a 9-win team, but. And not to say that Trevor Lawrence can't make them a 9-win team. I'm just saying that is that kind of the level that we're talking about here. If Trevor Lawrence could make them an 11-win team, and now we're talking about, oh, they're a 13-14 playoff run level team now with a guy and a weapon like Travis Hunter, then, and especially you get into the playoffs, like I think a receiver is valuable in the playoffs. I mean, you know, I get, chat, that I'm from the era of watching a guy like Larry Fitzgerald dominate in the playoffs, and maybe that had an impact on me and is just affecting the way I think about team building. But I do think that they can take over games in those situations. But the ability for them to get your team to the playoff, again, like he still was needing a quarterback like Carson Palmer. And then even still in the bigger moments, you know, you still need your quarterback to elevate through in a different way. But like maybe, again, to repivot more, this is a continued gamble on Trevor Lawrence that is now becoming a really costly investment that, again, immediately could have impact next year if it doesn't pay off in this way. So the Giants at number 3, you expect them to take Abdul Carter at this point. So I guess the draft did kind of start at 5 anyways. Like we were saying, the Jags, do they take G&T? I mean, do they take Mason Graham at 5 if they were still at 5 before the trade? But now, of course, it becomes really interesting what Cleveland does. Maybe they even still try to get more active. And there we go. Abdul Carter is the pick. Shout out our guy Mason Graham. I guess they're not going to be trying to stack the interior of the defensive line. But, again, you're getting a stud rusher. That's not a terrible thing. People are saying the Thibodeau trade value is, like, you know, what happens there all of a sudden? Do they start shopping Thibodeau? And I get it. But if they do start shopping Thibodeau, I mean, Ballard, get on the phones. I still like Thibodeau. I don't know if the... You know, some of the PFF grades, the stats, I mean, again, I get it. Like, has he lived up to being the number 5 overall pick in the draft, however you want to say that? And especially you have a guy like Hutchinson being, you know, a couple of picks ahead of him. There, especially, again, maybe chat, they've already updated it. Carter just has immediately taken his spot. Shout out. But I almost wonder if you could play those 3 rushers together. I mean, make no mistake, there's probably going to be a moment where they're going to. There's just no way that you're not going to try it out. But I guess the question would be, well, I wonder what the effectiveness is of them playing those 3 rushers together. And what do we got going on inside the NBA chat? We've got Ernie Johnson in a Hamilton role. Do we've got to pivot real quick from the draft to inside? Only inside the NBA could make us turn off the draft and mute the draft real quick. Again, we knew Carter was going to the Giants for like a couple of months. So, I mean, Carter, again, there's even some injury stuff. Maybe the injury stuff would have made the number 1 overall pick more interesting as well. Ernie Johnson singing, chat. Is this going to get copyright struck? I don't think any of Ernie Johnson's songs are trademark. Is this a cover or is this like a remix to fit Ernie Johnson's life? I wish I knew the Hamilton lyrics a little bit better. I was going to say, you know, a excuse to rewatch Hamilton, but we still haven't gotten to that Get Rich, Die Trying rewatch that we've been talking about. So, I mean, come on, chat. We got an NFL draft to power through here. So, until we get that done, I think Hamilton, there's a couple of movies that are going to be on the rewatch and the new watch burner or list, I guess, before. So, I guess, speaking of burners, I guess Hamilton's going to be the one on the burner, chat, the back burner for a second. But we'll put it in the cycle. So there we go, chat. Ernie Johnson rapping some Hamilton lyrics. I guess, was that the safest one for Ernie Johnson to wrap along to. We didn't see the setup there, so I don't know if there was some Hamilton's stuff that, is there a Hamilton through line in the last couple episodes that we've fallen asleep for and have missed? But yeah, again, shout out. And I don't know why they didn't have Chuck and, especially Chuck getting on a Hamilton performance as well too. Or, Les Miserables. I don't know which musical we need to start casting Charles Barkley in. Chat, DM us at RemingTonM on Instagram. Top 5 musicals you'd want to see Charles Barkley in. And maybe, we'll get to that at some point in the draft here tonight. But, yeah, again, because Thibodeau is still an edge guy. Like, you're even still. Like, if Thibodeau had the versatility still, I mean, you'd be using him in that way. But pause. But with the talent of those 3 guys, it'd be hard to imagine not giving it at least a run. So, yeah, you've got Thibodeau sitting about 258, 6'5", 258. But he's pretty strong, chat. I don't know. I think it definitely could work. And Dexter Lawrence as well, too. He's just going to, he just takes up so much space, chat, in the interior and he's so good as well, too, that Dexter Lawrence is always going to take 2 blockers. So if you have Dexter Lawrence, like maybe Thibodeau gets unlocked a little bit in a way. I just have Thibodeau stock, chat, so I'm just thinking positive. And maybe he gets traded and gets that. Maybe that is the best thing for him. I'm not saying that that's not the case. Again, if he ends up on the Colts, like, come on, chat. I'm not going to be excited about that. But Dexter Lawrence is always going to take a double team. So now you've got Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, and Abdul Carter potentially playing 3-on-4. I mean, that's not the worst thing in the world, chat. And I think especially for Carter, that could be interesting. And, Carter, again, the Thibodeau stuff, whatever, but that Carter first year, he's got I don't know what the injury timeline is on him exactly at this point, but he's got the injury stuff as well. But just the ability for him to settle into that first year into a rotation, then again, the trade deadline is a couple weeks in. If you get to the point where you go, okay, a move has to be made here, then, I guess you proceed accordingly. But, but yeah, if you have the ability to have a really great 3-man defensive line rotation, even for a year, why not go ahead and pounce on that? And especially, again, like the quarterback thing, maybe they look to solve that a little bit later in the draft. But if you do run into the season with Westbrook, or with Westbrook, chat, with Russell Wilson, is it kind of the same thing at this point? Is that the comp? The cross-sport comp for Russell Wilson? Am I thinking Westbrook because Nuggets Clippers are playing a little bit later? I would rather have Westbrook on the Spurs than Wilson on the Colts. And it might be a different thing as well, too, because you think Westbrook on the Spurs would be like 6th or 7th man versus, again, Russell Wilson on the Colts is the quarterback. But still, whatever the equivalent value of it is, I'll say, if you're telling me Westbrook if he has to take like if the tax is like 3 extra shots a game, then I don't know. The Spurs, we could be good next year if we pursue a guy and do good in the draft. So I guess I can't start talking too much. But I wouldn't mind Westbrook on the team as a bench guy. That'd be great, chat. I know. There'd be a couple regular season games where I'd be like, yeah, I know, a couple of shots there in the 4th quarter weren't great, but he'll figure it out. The man's a winner. The man's a legend. He won't ultimately distract from the team from winning, chat, right? I don't think so. Yeah, that's just an interesting possibility, I guess, with those guys. But Roy Robertson Harris is, I guess, not good, chat. 81 out of 118 on the PFF grade. But I think eye test for our guy, Roy Rob Harris, he's not bad on the eye test. Made some pretty good plays. So I'm a fan of this defensive line rotation for sure, chat. And again, I mean, you're still got a long ways to go for building out the rest of this roster, but you got a good foundation in the trenches. Malik Neighbors is a weapon. I mean, you're not off to a bad start with, it's not really a start with building this roster, but if we just say the start is now, then hey, you're not off to a bad start with building out this roster. Do we have news on the Patriots? Just that the pick is in. Of course, they're putting Membo on the screen here for best fit and Ginty for best available. But it does seem like Will Campbell is, at least the talk right now is Will Campbell is the move. Schefter, does he have anything new? I don't know if he's going to be tweeting out the picks as they happen necessarily. I don't know if he's going to pull a full Woj, chat. Maybe he's got some respect for the league. Woj, just a full Renegade, chat. Just a full wild card. You never know what to expect. But shout out, of course. We miss Woj as an insider. I mean, Woj, of course, still around. But as an insider, we just, best in the business. The Woj bomb. Just the concept of losing the Woj bomb as well, too. I mean, what a sad day, chat. But, I mean, Will Campbell is, of course, a great pick here, chat. And I know the comparison has been made now by a lot of people to the Colts for taking Quentin Nelson as highly as they did in the draft and it being a successful pick for them if Will Campbell potentially is a guard. But again, you're getting a guy that, like, Quentin Nelson was a guard when they took him. So a lot of people are saying Will Campbell, like, oh no, he is a guard. But yeah, there it is, chat. I guess there was a little bit of iffiness. You never know. Do they go Gene T or something? But yeah, it seemed like it was pretty locked in for our guy Campbell. But make no mistake, chat. I mean, you'll take every inch that you can get. But it's more about how you work with what you got, right, chat? Yikes. But, I mean, that's Will Campbell. He's the best at working with what he's got. The arms, they may not be up to par, but it doesn't matter. And to be honest, another thing I was thinking about, chat, just at the restaurant was, like, at the end of the day, a lot of these guys with these, especially, again, pause, chat, but some of the smaller stuff, like time and time again, we see these guys go high in the draft, and not even just at the offensive lineman position, but you think, like, Bryce Young was the #1 overall pick in the quarterback. Joe Burrow was, obviously, not Bryce Young when it came to that aspect of it, but there was that whole hand size thing with Burrow. And again, the way Burrow played in college was and especially Tua had some of the injury stuff as well, too. I mean, Tua was pretty close to the prospect there going into the NFL, but Burrow was kind of a cut ahead anyways. So the hand thing was a little bit maybe farther away from knocking him down the board. But again, you just have these storylines that develop, and you kind of project them on the teams that, again, these guys get projected to. So it's like, okay, the Patriots could use a guy like Will Campbell, but are they going to get caught up in this dialogue that's going on right now about the arm length being too small? But I think what it really ends up being, and of course, no shocker, chat, but I think it ends up being the teams, all these teams around, bringing up this dialogue. So, like, they want Will Campbell to fall. Like, they want Will Campbell. Will Campbell, like we're saying, is, you throw on the tape, there's literally nothing that Will Campbell, there's not a box he doesn't check outside of the fact that his arms aren't long enough. So I think what happens is, again, you look at a team like the Patriots and go, there's no reason that they shouldn't take him. But some of these teams that need a tackle, they're like, oh, Will Campbell's our best bet. And then if he's not a tackle, we can kick him in at guard, and we just have a great offensive lineman for a while as well, too. I mean, Sewell is another version of this where obviously the physical stuff was fine for Sewell, but it was more about could he play on the left side or the right side of the line. And, Sewell at this point, I guess we'd even have to look. Maybe he has been kicked back over to left tackle and played effectively there as well. But, you kick him back over to right tackle, and it's like the man's the best right tackle in the league, and now that pick still looks okay. You don't go back in that pick and go, #5 pick in the draft, they got a pretty good right tackle. That's not necessarily the best value for that spot. Again, do we need to pull the list back up and go, is Penei Sewell the 5th best player in that redraft? But he's not far off, for sure, with the way he's played. In the offensive line, again, we know the importance of it. So getting stud offensive linemen highly in the draft is always, I think, highly recommended. And I think the good teams always definitely gravitate toward it. And what happens is, as well, too, you get some of these constantly good teams is, they never end up picking this highly in the draft. And, I'm not saying I guess you could say what you want about the Patriots. I'm thinking like the Eagles. Like the Eagles would never be, I guess, but right now, like Howie Roseman's not the 4th pick in the draft to take Will Campbell, but would Howie Roseman pass on Will Campbell because of his arm length? I just, that's not a type of thing you would necessarily think of Howie Roseman to do. He's going to take the best football player. He's just taking football players, chat. The draft's about taking football players. So Will Campbell, you got to take a football player. But we've got Cleveland on the board at 5 here. The pick is in. We don't know necessarily, I guess, what they're going to do because they traded back. So the fact that they were taking Travis Hunter and the wide receiver cornerback combo was, I think, a little bit more of them taking best player available at this point than drafting they couldn't use a wide receiver. But with a team, like we're saying, a team that, And they don't necessarily even have the quarterback at this point as well, too, to push the chips into the table. So that's the thing about the Travis Hunter piece, at least for Jacksonville, that, on the flip side of it, like we're saying, it's a bet on Trevor Lawrence, but at least you have a guy to take a bet on in that spot. And you go, okay, maybe there's, and not even maybe, but, there could definitely be some very high upside for Trevor Lawrence and Travis Hunter in that combination. And you think even with Brian, we're leaving out the Brian Thomas piece of it as well. There was, I guess, maybe some New York possibilities with him at 3, so him and Neighbors. But him in Cleveland, like he goes to Cleveland, he's just the number one focal point as well, too, if he's on offense. There's, I guess, whatever the Nick Chubb future is there. Not to doubt it necessarily, but even that is not, in the, probably not in the Super Bowl window for the 10-year whatever this team would have to build out. Not that it takes you 10 years to build out a Super Bowl team. Travis Hunter probably not, a decade in. Okay, now we're ready to go. But, now he's the focal. Like, with Brian Thomas there already, too. Like, now you have a ability to really be an attacking team. And I think Brian Thomas and Hunter can really complement. And both those guys are versatile receivers. I think both of those guys can be deep threat, really good at attacking down the field. I mean, the jump ball stuff, I get Brian Thomas maybe because of Malik Neighbors and because of the combo at LSU, that was where he really was able to thrive. And it's like, that's where we need you in that down to field stuff. But he can also line up and be a versatile receiver. So here we go, chat. Let's get the pick in for the Cleveland Browns here real quick. It's Mason Graham. So as you would assume, it's a best player available situation. Trading back, collecting the asset, getting that first. Hey, yo, chat, collecting the assets, getting that first round pick for next year, and still getting a really, really high talented player. And if we're being honest, one of those, again, you don't want to call any player a lock, and it becomes a weird, I guess, is he going to be like, because, you get Jalen Carter, a top 10 defensive lineman interior guy, Quentin Williams. You get some of these guys where you go, okay, are they going to be multiple-time All-Pros? But it does seem like Mason Graham has that, and you don't even want to say, like, baseline starter potential as well. But, I mean, you would assume that he's going to be sniffing around those Pro Bowl marks. And, again, are we in NBA brain right now thinking of, like, accomplishing an All-Star versus accomplishing a Pro Bowl in the NFL? But, again, what maybe a standard Pro Bowl, just that first crop of Pro Bowl level players, like he's going to be sniffing in that range, I think, pretty quickly for impact. I don't just think about it. I'm trying to think of like a good, and again, like really solid, like, Buckner is like a second team All Pro as well too. So Graham being in that second team All Pro, I'm not even writing that off as well. I think that's totally in play, but I don't think that, again, maybe as many people would give him that upside. But, again, the baseline talent is there for Graham, absolutely. And one of those guys that you just go, who's going to be a good, who's going to be a, in the draft, high-level terms, I guess, a good football player out of this draft? Who can we bet on for being productive, 10-year career, couple of Pro Bowl appearances, a couple of big contracts, just the full stud for a draft pick? Like, Mason Graham is absolutely on the list. And like we're saying, all the Michigan guys, I know ESPN valued him highly here on their board as well, too. Chat, how are we leaving out our friends at Tankathon? We just got to pull up the tab just to have them in the background. Tankathon, they are our go-to sources for draft lists and draft orders, and just, again, just like thinking about, sometimes you just need prompts with this stuff. I just need to see the list of names and the teams laid out sometimes, and Tankathon is the go-to place to do it. So, again, pause. We just need to have the go-to place to do it. Tankathon is the go-to place to do it. Can we make that their slogan, chat? Yikes. Updated the player rankings 1 hour ago. Look at this, chat. The man is still working. Hustling, grinding. You love to see it. 4th overall. They got the 4th overall player with the 5th pick. I mean, you love the value, chat. And I guess, the value of Gene T, of course, is going to be crazy as well, too. Wherever he ends up going. But I guess, does Tankathon have the... Yeah, he's got the Michigan guys in the top 16. Johnson's sliding down boards a little bit as well. Kenneth Grant, the top 23, so 4 top 25 guys for the University of Michigan. And again, all those guys you would assume, like, maybe Kenneth Grant, again, would he be a guy that you're like, is he going to be multiple Pro Bowls in his career? But Kenneth Grant is going to be really, really good in the NFL. I fully support a Kenneth Grant pick, chat, hot take. But, shout out the Pistons, back within 8, single digits. Okay. Down by 13 there going into the half. So at home, Cade Cunningham off of that amazing performance. The first playoff win for them in 15 playoff games. So not, 15 games. It's been many, many years for them to collect 15 playoff games as well. But they'd lost 15 of them in a row. So you think that's, almost, chat, can we barely do math? But, you're looking at almost 4 playoff series worth of just losing games in a row. And again, they weren't in the playoffs 4 consecutive years. So it's been a bit of a minute since they got that playoff win. Cade Cunningham, the future face of the franchise, looking amazing in the playoffs, rising to the occasion. So you get him back on his home court with a chance maybe to take a 2-1 lead. Who knows? And I guess we'll just, have to see how they end up closing this game here. Cade with the good defense on Brunson on the step back on the last possession. Turns into a little Harris trying to post up Brunson. But Duran cleaning up the glass. So Towns, of course, the rebounding for the Knicks is going to be a thing. So now, again, the Browns, as much as there was some mystery there, best player available is not a shock. So the Raiders at 6. This could get interesting, chat. Could it be GT? The pick is in. Goodell. It is GT, chat. Tom Brady is trying to win right away. He wants to build a fun, competitive team. He's building a, I guess, Geno Smith is, he going to be like greatest show on turf. But could there be a little Kurt Warner-ish level play for Geno Smith later in his career? At the Raiders, again, we've already seen him play well, of course, in the teams that he's been on. But, a few more maybe studs on the Raiders than there are on the Seahawks. I don't know if you want to compare the rosters, but you get in, G&T versus Kenneth Walker, you want to start talking about the NFL talent and the impact of the running back position. What's the overall upgrade there? But the main thing we've seen from G&T is his workhorse capabilities, and if there's just a durability factor with him as well too that's able to carry over into the NFL, which is, I got to be honest, the one thing that of course would give you pause with the G&T case of it all would be whether or not you think, chat here, let's just look how many carries he had in college real quick just to see. But again, you don't want to doubt a guy that could be, because it's not, G&T wasn't just a workhorse. Like, you get a guy that's like, okay, this guy's clearly an awesome running back and clearly a specimen and, clearly awesome, chat. So he did have that first year, I guess, where he had 156 carries. It's not like the highest volume year, kind of, maybe saves his case a little bit, but 750 carries in 3 years is pretty crazy volume, chat, and 374 in his last year. But, of course, if you're thinking volume, chat, pause. But the obvious case to compare him to would be Derrick Henry. And, of course, Derrick Henry is, put Ashton G&T in the, chat, put him in Canva and just, pause. But, just that little corner drag, make him a little, pause, but make him a little bit bigger. But, again, like Derrick Henry's even more that physical specimen. And I guess he even had less of a workload throughout the course of his college career because of that Alabama backfield. Those first couple of years weren't necessarily as stacked. Only 35 carries as a freshman, and then 990 yards as 172 carries a sophomore, and then almost 400 carries as a senior. But what about Zeke as well too? I was thinking about Zeke for high usage guys, pause, in the running back position. He never had a 300 carry season. He had less than 600 total carries for his college career. But again, you see the way that Henry has been able to hold up over the course of his NFL career. And if you had said in college that Derrick Henry was going to have this freak of nature NFL career into his 30s, where, even this year he was putting up, almost 2,000 rush yards, if I'm not mistaken, chat. Like, how crazy, again, was that season that he just had? Again, some of the Ravens stuff is only judged. Like, he gets into lumped into the Ravens storyline of it now, where Derrick Henry is only going to get judged by his playoff performances. But yeah, 1,921 yards at 30 years old, chat. Like, if you said Derrick Henry is just going to have this crazy long decade run where he's a physical freak, you'd be like, yeah, that makes total sense. This is just the most insane specimen I've ever seen at the running back. And again, G&T is maybe not the same like off the bus specimen, but you watch him on the football field, he is that same physical specimen and the same, you know, just the same sort of tough runner. Like I don't know if Marshawn Lynch comps have been made necessarily. Like, do we get comps in this chat for the ESPN board? I know the NFL board on NFL.com had some, like the Combine Prospects board had some comps, but not everybody. But I didn't see if they had one for GT. Oh, this is just GT's straight up player page. I guess we need to go to the prospects list. Because you know, again, just as a tough runner, but just in terms of the being able to have the durable NFL career as well too, which again is really the only thing that you would have concern about. So, and not that, and he doesn't have an injury history as well to maybe even make you worried about that being the case. So, of course, we believe in Gene T, chat. I'm not here to necessarily doubt Gene T's abilities, but 5'9", 211, the you know, the compact frame might, of course, work in his favor here, chat. Oh, of course, ESPN.com overrun with traffic right now. I can't keep up. Just scroll down. There we go. Okay, we're going that much. Oh, Ryan McFadden on the analysis. What was Darren McFadden's? What was the height and weight on Darren McFadden? Of course, you know, maybe the NFL stuff. Not the same. This is just going to be the player page again. Yeah. Oh, well. It is what it is. Shout out Danny Kelly of The Ringer. I guess we're just going to have to pull up his draft guide real quick. And what do we got? NFL Draft. .theringer.com, I think. Shout out. We'll see if he comped. Did he comp GT to a player, or did he comp him to like some, you know, some wizard in Lord of the Rings or something? He can get a little crazy sometimes with his comps. You're like, wait a second, but what about the NFL part of it? I'm like, okay, that's no. I'm just okay. So he compares GT to the BattleBot Minotaur, chat. Or is it supposed to be Minotaur BattleBot? What is that? Is that from the show BattleBots? I did dabble a little bit in the show, but never actually owned a BattleBot. Are we going to get copyright strike for showing BattleBot highlights, chat, of this Minotaur BattleBot? What does this thing run like? So this is apparently Ashton Deanty's playstyle. Oh, is he the... Oh, wait, he's the smaller one there, chat. Oh, that's going to just give us a little... So we got the Bronco versus the Minotaur. I don't know if... Did Danny Kelly compare anybody to the Bronco BattleBot? Any of the linebackers in there? We could just, you know, make it a full watching tape sort of thing. So the Broncos got a couple matches in here. Maybe it had a run. As well, $6 million for the Bronco versus the Chrome Fly. That one did not get in my algorithm, chat, apparently, but... Oh, ABC is going to take this stream down. It is what it is, but... Shout out. We'll just pop in and out of the highlights, chat. Hopefully it won't do too much. Oh, the Bronco! It tried to flip it, but yeah, see... So I get what he's saying. The small, compact, powerful engine. Yeah, I mean, just, you know, getting a pause underneath the defender, and... It doesn't really seem like, as much as you try to pause, you know, when a guy's banging you, as much as you try to ram him and take him down, hey, yo, hey, yo, hey, yo. Like, oh, chat, flipped. But right back, oh, the wheels on both sides, so even if he gets flipped over, like Ashton Jeanty, can he run upside down? He might be able to. I wouldn't be surprised. Okay, chat, the pick is in for the Jets. Number 7. It's Membu, the lineman. I mean, they're still building out that offensive line, regardless of the fact that Aaron Rodgers has left. I mean, Justin Fields is going to need protected. Whoever the quarterback there in the future is going to need protected. So Membu's been rising up draft boards this whole process. He's been another one kind of linked to the Jets. I think he's kind of again, just like a high riser prospect. I don't think it's more of a, oh, are you hearing the Jets at 7 are taking Membu? Like, he's been up the board and the Jets need a tackle. And again, he does seem like, maybe there's a like with Membu, maybe the versatility is, again, almost a benefit to him, where with Will Campbell, it's not. And again, with Will Campbell, maybe you think Membu has the traits to be the tackle, whereas you were looking at Will Campbell and going, are we forced to play him at guard because of the traits? Whereas Membu, again, there could be a skill or development or just fit thing in the offensive line. And again, you're not talking to the offensive line expert here. Oh, they do have a comp for GNT. They just straight up comped him to Kamara as well. And I think maybe Kamara a little better of a pass catcher than GNT, but GNT's so, good as a runner that you wouldn't be surprised. GNT and screens if he had a Derrick Henry type effect in that. I almost think he's a little bit more Derrick Henry-ish than he is Kamara. Kamara is, of course, a great receiver, or a great running back, and the balance and the ability to run through contact and all that stuff is definitely there. But there's more of a, and again, that's the Minotaur BattleBot comp with Danny Kelly is probably there's a little bit more of like a punishing pause aspect. Ayo, chat. But I don't know if now's the time to be talking about that. But there, there's just a little bit. He's definitely doling out more damage to the defenders maybe than a guy like Kamara was. Where Kamara, again, it's like, oh, there's just a balance to it where it's like, I don't know, again, what BattleBot here. Maybe the Minotaur BattleBot is a good comparison as well too, where Kamara could just have wheels on both sides. Pause. But yeah, either way, of course, GT is going to be good. And off the board at 6 as well, 2 to the Raiders means the Bears are going. What do the Bears do? Because, I mean, of course, being here in the Midwest, we have Bears fans in our lives. We were talking to some of the Bears fans at work about what they wanted to do in the draft, and I was asking them if they wanted GT at running back because, again, at the time the Bears were favored. At least GT was favored to go to the Bears. I don't know if the Bears were also the favorite to get GT, but it's like, okay, GT is the player that the Bears want the most. So if he's there, obviously he's going to be the favorite for them to take on the betting odds. But they were all in on getting the running back as well too. And the one guy we were talking about, like, yes, let's just take GT and then 6 offensive linemen and just try to run into the offseason with the full Caleb Williams, pause, but the full Caleb Williams protection mode and just go from there. I guess figure out, a different thing to do at receivers, but you still got DJ Moore and Adunze as well, so you're not necessarily lacking in that category. But, even like the trade-up possibility is out the door for the Bears in that case. So maybe, Ted McMillan, like we're saying, if the Jags had traded back into that early double-digit range, maybe Ted McMillan was on the board for them. So, and he's maybe on the board for the Cowboys at 12 too. So maybe the Bears at 10, and Tyler Warren as well. Colson Loveland, those tight ends maybe are on the board over the receivers. But just as another name, maybe to throw in the mix, maybe Ted McMillan also has to be mentioned as well too. If we're laying out all the options, chat, we got tight ends. I think it probably would be the tight ends or McMillan, or maybe they just go one of the offensive linemen. Maybe it was, like we're saying, maybe it was GNT or offensive lineman and then find value in the weapons later. And GNT is just that kind of a guy where you have to take him in the first round. If we're, getting inside of the minds of some of these GMs, I guess. But, yeah, what were we saying, chat? The Raiders, I feel like we were talking about another team besides the Raiders and GNT there for a second. Oh, the Jets with Membu in the line? Yeah. I'm not out on Membu's versatility, but it seems like a little weird thing where you're like, okay, we can play Membu on multiple spots of the line. That almost seems to be like sometimes, and again, it's just whatever lens you want to use to make your case, but it's like, a guy might not be dominant at either position, so there's, we'll give him the versatility label. Or, again, it's like the guy might not quite be the tackle that we want. So we'll give him the versatility label because we have to kick him to guard. But either way, both, I think, have potential, of course, to be stud offensive linemen. And I really do like a lot of the offensive linemen in this class, chat. Banks as well, too, I think is just going to be a really solid tackle, potentially. And this is only going to give us best available is going to be, the more full list. Oh, so they got Simmons as the best tackle, even over Banks. But hey, Simmons was great as well too, chat, at Ohio State. Connerly was getting some buzz around the Senior Bowl time. So, end of the first round, it's going to be like, okay, the Chiefs need offensive line help, and they get Connerly. Of course, there's going to be some groans about that for sure. And then Zabel has been rising up draft boards. Tyler Booker is definitely going to go in the first round tonight. If, I'm not as familiar with Jonah Savania, chat. Shout out the lineman from Arizona. But if he's in the mix here over Donovan Jackson and Tate Ratledge, then you know he's going to be putting up good tape. Dylan Fairchild, maybe even later in the draft. I don't know. But yeah, it's a pretty, I think, pretty solid offensive lineman class this year. Mel's best available, so he does have Shedeur as the best available. And to be honest, again, I honestly don't even know if some of the pre-draft stuff was reflecting where the NFL thinks of Shedeur. Maybe it is, chat, because again, they're talking about trading back up into the first round for him. So it becomes, where is he at? Is Shedeur like 30 on some of these guys' boards, but they feel like they have to take him in the draft? But again, by the time we were getting to the draft today on ESPN, they brought like Jackson Dart's even odds to be the second quarterback taken. Again, it's not even Jackson Dart in the mix for the first round, or these guys are 20s, let's battle it out. It's like Jackson Dart is just going to be taken over Shedeur Sanders at this point. It is what it is. And maybe the Saints are on the board at 9. Maybe we get there next. So a lot of people were saying, defensive line here for the Panthers, maybe Jalen Walker. Oh, chat, the Panthers go with McMillan. McMillan at number 8, chat. Wow. And the Panthers have been building out a lot of their higher draft picks with the weapons, chat. I know, again, they traded some of the picks for Bryce Young, but with the second-round picks and stuff that they've taken, here, we'll look at it here real quick. With the second-round picks that they've taken, I feel like they've continued, and maybe the trade in Bryce Young is part of that, but I feel like they can continue to invest around him as well there too. So, because again, I'm thinking Mingo specifically. They took Mingo at the top of the second round a couple of years ago. So let's see here, chat. If we can just pull up the Panthers draft history alone. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, in the Bryce Young draft, they took Mingo, 39th. So, do they not have last year's draft, chat, in the mix? Did they not take... What am I thinking, chat? Where was their pick last year? Because, again, they traded out... I guess here, we'll just sort by team. Make it easier, chat. Yeah, Brooks, that's right. They took Brooks. And Leggett. Yeah. Leggett and Brooks, chat, as their first 2 picks last year. And then they went Walls. And then Sanders with the 4th pick in last year's draft. Smith Wade, the defensive back, and Crumley, the defensive tackle. But they do, I think, spend a little bit defensively as well. So let's pull up their roster. Oh, chat, the Saints pick is in quick. Or we're just, having such a good time rambling through some of this stuff quicker than we thought. But the Saints are ready to go. Maybe the Jackson Dart's still on the board. Okay. Shout out. But here, if we go line up. I mean, they lost like Luvu and some guys over the course of the year. I mean, yeah, they Jewel, Clown, J.C. Horn still there. Mike Jackson, bring him in at corner. Moyrig, the safety, I kind of like him. Not bad, chat. Scott, Nick Scott. Okay, not too familiar, but maybe he'll have a breakout season. Who knows? Definitely could still continue to invest in the defense, so I get it. But the quarterbacks, the investment in them, like we're saying with Trevor Lawrence and now with Bryce Young, continues to be the primary thing for some of these teams, chat. And at the end of the day, I guess some of the Tet McMillan cases, I guess, against him in some of the pre-draft stuff, maybe amongst the analysts, weren't the same that we were getting in draft rooms. And I get it as well. You get a guy that's just able to win at the point of catch like that, it makes sense. And I mean, of course, consistency is always a weird thing to be debated in draft rooms where you go, okay, well, do we think this guy is, is there some stuff with, especially getting into the NFL where you can take the foot off the gas a little bit, but, you think, okay, we can get him to be locked in for the entire time. We can get the best version of McMillan for most games of the season. But, again, is his ability to win downfield, does that also complement Leggett's ability to be that more dynamic weapon? Was Leggett getting like Deebo Samuel comps when he was in the draft? But we've also seen him used in some of the jet sweeps and some of the creative ways as well too that we saw the Niners use Deebo, and I'm sure that Washington will use Deebo in that way. And McMillan as well too is a guy that I think you can just kind of be creative with and just try to get the ball in his hands and make plays with him that way. But if he can get down the field and then Leggett can be creative around the line of scrimmage, like you're saying, if Brooks is there, and even Hubbard with as good as he played, if your run game continues to be really strong, like, that Panthers offense started to show signs of life at the end of last year, chat, to say the least. But that was something, and I do still have, again, with the way we saw Bryce Young start to progress over the course of last year, maybe there is something to that coach who was able to get good performances out of some veteran guys later in their career. Maybe he's able to turn Bryce Young around. Turn him around, chat, but, get him set back on the right path at this point in his career as well, too. So maybe it speaks as well, too, more to how they value the defensive board. But, again, I do also, chat, again, you're going to hear us lean positively for some of this stuff. But I do like the receiver board as well, too. I know, will we see Mbuka in the first round tonight? Who knows? Burden was a guy that was going to be a top 10 pick before the season even started. And I still think both those guys are going to be really, really good NFL receivers. And, again, if you want to put some of these guys in the mix, the upside above them, I totally fine on taking swings as well, too. Bond later in the draft, chat, he's going to be good in the NFL. Brew McCoy, shout out, 6'3", 209. 3'6" as an NFL receiver would be quite the accomplishment. But Golden, I guess, is the number 3 receiver on the board behind Hunter and McMillan. And I say, I guess, his, explodes off the line. His speed and just dynamic ability has made him. Garrett Wilson comp, chat, has definitely driven him up draft boards. But here we go, chat. Saints at 9. Kelvin Banks, the tackle. So they go best player available, build out that offensive line, and maybe that does just continue to prove that they will get that they will continue to make moves for trying to get a quarterback here at some point, even tonight in the first round, because not to say that, of course, the team couldn't go defense quarterback, but that tackle move is like, okay, you get a young tackle, pair him with Trevor Penning, chat. Or does he replace Trevor Penning? I don't know what the move is there. But, you get your young tackle, and then you get the quarterback. A good combo. We see the receiver-quarterback combo, especially in drafts as well, too. But maybe that tackle-quarterback combo is a little bit more of a priority in a team-building sense. So, okay, the Bears on the clock. Gene T off the board. And McMillan off the board. So maybe their hand being forced into... And Kelvin Banks off the board as well. So like we're saying, they do have the tight ends. It could be Loveland here over Tyler Warren as well, because I think Loveland is maybe viewed as the more complete pass catcher. Yeah, effective route runner. Probably better in that aspect if you're looking to add, quote-unquote weapons. And the Bears pick is in quick, chat. Whoa, they want their guy. It's got to be Loveland. Shout out. 2 Michigan guys in the top 10. You love to see it. But... you see like Kittle's impact on the Niners, and I think maybe Kittle is a little bit more, obviously fully well-rounded as a prospect than Warren, but will Warren get that full, blocking, pass-catching balance the way Kittle has? Of course, it's a high-ass chat, but just the ability for a tight end to, of course, be that dynamic as a pass blocker, as a blocker, and as a pass catcher is, I think, becoming a more rare and rare weapon. It's funny, chat, that you can have these things like that where, I'm not saying that's what like every position. I'm not saying like the fullback, but the fullback is, I think weirdly useful as well too nowadays, especially if, of course he's good, but, and shout out to Banks. You love to see, do we need to turn on the ABC broadcast to hear his story, chat? Because the man's overcome with emotion right now. You love to see of course it's the start of a new journey, but it is, of course, we know, chat, the culmination of so much hard work. So you love to see these guys accomplishing their goals in that way. Oh, wait a second. I thought they were bringing out Nikki Glazer for a second, but that's not her. Who is this? We got Colleen Rolfe, Laura Rutledge, chat. Okay, shout out. It's all compliments. Getting Laura Rutledge and Nick. Compliments both ways. But maybe we need to watch more of the ESPN shows or the NFL shows on ESPN. I guess. Who knows? So what are they doing? What's going on here, chat? What's the production move? I guess cancel us now. We're saying who gave him stage time. Let him cook, chat. Let him cook. We don't want to hear the picks. Oh, announcing the schedule release? This is a promo for the schedule. See, chat, it's just a promo for an ESPN show in the, you know, the middle of May. Like, it's not their fault that they got put up to the task, I guess. But, yeah, like we're saying, it's got to be one of the tight ends, you guess, because I don't think Golden is quite this highly rated as a player. And they didn't trade up either, so I guess maybe it could be Hampton. We've seen Hampton rise, and if they just are looking at, like, the Lions literally being in their division would be a team that they're like, okay, let's overthink this and copy what they did. Do we think we're the Lions? We just took Ben Johnson. Like, are we a running back away? Let's add Hampton. Let's complete this offense. Let's go, chat. We're going to be in NFC title games. But I guess we're going live betting Colson Loveland at this spot. But, yeah, with some of the tight end stuff, like we're saying with Warren, and this is not a Warren over Loveland point, just a in favor of Warren as a prospect, and in favor of still the blocking tight end. Like, you know, that used to be the standard for what happened to the good old days of tight end, chat, when a team used to just blocking used to just be standard and blocking used to just be one of the requirements to play tight end. But now, of course, with the way the pass catching has evolved and the way that that position has evolved to help in the pass catching element of the game, I do think that there is now value, of course, in having that multifaceted tight end. It's like, wait a second, we don't have to take him off the field ever. In our looks and the versatility we have there, he can block and he can pass catch. I mean, what a cheat, chat. What a cheat code for some of these tight ends. So I mean, Loveland's a great pass catching tight end. I'm just saying, Warren, of course, we know the reason that he is in the mix as well here too. So I guess, you know, seeing Goodell back on stage, chat, get Laura Rutledge and Colleen Wolfe back up there. I think they just took the commissioner's job and should be announcing picks. R.I.P. to Steve McMichael, chat, the legend. Passed away. I guess we don't have a timeline on that, but, you know, recent enough anyways for them to be mentioning it here. Or, I mean, you know, you mention a life well lived at any point is well-deserved, chat. But shout out, of course, a legendary Bear, legendary football player in Steve McMichael. So I guess we'll see here, chat, in a second. But respects must be paid. The man's earned every second of it, of course. And the Knicks are up 9 with 18 seconds left in the third quarter, by the way. As well, I should mention, chat. I know it's a moment of silence, but I'll just speak under my breath real fast. Are they announcing the man of the year? Oh, no, 10th pick. Okay. Oh, and the fans boo. They erupt. Immediately, chat. Forget about Steve McMichael. Boo the Bears. Colson Lovely! Let's go! Shout out, chat. The Michigan, the best school in football. The only school so far with 2 players in the top 10. We thought it was going to be Colorado. We thought it was going to be Shedeur. Oh, schedule release Wednesday, May 14th. There we go. Schefter with the updates, chat. We thought it was going to be Travis Hunter and Shedeur Sanders as the 2 multi-school picks, but no, chat. The Maize and Blue, the University of Michigan, is the one. I guess maybe Texas, if like Barron had really climbed up the draft boards. But yeah, other than that, like we're saying, you know, we've got even still Will Johnson, who absolutely should be a top 10 pick in this draft. Like if we're going the redraft, you know, even you start talking positional value, you know, who knows how we'll talk about him versus this 6 to 10, you know, I guess 6 to 9 range. You know, Colson Loveland, of course, shout out, exempt from this conversation, chat. What do they got for a comp? Sam Laporta? I love to see it. I mean, you know, rival school, rival team is a double tough comp. But great player as well, too, in the NFL, so you can't be mad. Kelvin Banks. Rashawn Slater. Ooh, chat. It's high praise, of course. Membu. Membu's not gonna be. Oh, whoa, Jason Peters. Hey, yo, chat. Get the gold. Start getting the measurements for Membu's jacket right now, I guess. Are we just going comp corner for everybody? Christian Wilkins for Mason Graham. I always just like comparing the comps, though, to the draft position. And again, even you go, okay, this team needs a line defense and this team needs offense. So, again, you start going what's realistic that teams take. But I almost want to lay out the draft just based on the comp sometimes. Because sometimes you comp, again, the high side of a guy to what you think maybe actually is going to be realistic. But, and again, I would take Mason Graham over Membu, but I also would probably take Jason Peters over Christian Wilkins in a redraft situation. Who did they comp Hunter to? Odell Beckham? That is weird. I never even thought about, like, who would you comp him as to as a receiver. You're like Travis Hunter's a 1 of 1. Oh, who did the Niners just take? Oh, no, nobody yet. They're still the Colson Loveland. Whoa, Colson Loveland. I didn't realize the Hunterman's. What's the right term, chat? The Hunter background that he has anyways. We got 2 massive, like, deer heads in the back on the wall. In whatever, I don't know if it's like a family Airbnb, or not like a family Airbnb, but, I don't know if they got like an Airbnb for everybody and just like, hey, is that the move, chat? If you're going to the NFL, you're like, do we have the draft on location at the guy's house, or do we just rent an Airbnb for the night and just everybody gets over at the big Airbnb and we hang out over there? So I don't know, did the Airbnb have a couple of deer head? I don't think that we were quite in elk territory, chat, but I guess elk, maybe you don't have room for one elk head. But anyways, pretty crazy, chat. Shout out to however you guys want to view that stuff. It still is I guess delicately a cool thing to see on the walls of some stuff. But chat, if they're already gone, then it is what it is, I guess. But the Niners, like we were saying, is this a Shedeur Sanders team? It was 49-1 on the draft op, so it's not necessarily realistic to be a Shedeur Sanders team or a quarterback. I guess Jackson Dart is on the board as well too. Do the Niners just go, hey, screw it? Jackson Dart's a guy that teams want to take in the first round. We don't know. We're not going to trade back up for a quarterback. Purdy, your time's up. We're taking Jackson Dart. Trade Purdy to the Steelers at 21 or something. I don't know what the domino effect of moves is after that. But chat, we got the Niners, Cowboys, and Dolphins back to back big market teams. Is this scripted? What's going on here? Also, this Stafford sleep number commercial is a little uncomfortable, a little interesting. But yeah, I mean, Banks was a guy that was, I think, of need for the Niners, a tackle, like we were saying. So they could go Booker. They could still continue to build out that offensive line. Defensive line as well, too, I don't think is off the table here. They still have both of the Georgia defenders on the board. And with the Colts getting near as well, too, I don't know, how this board's going to shake out. But, and again, I'm not an expert on everybody in the first round, but some of the wish list guys I was thinking about. Here, let me see. Did I have it? Yeah, chat. Okay, a lot of Mike Green stock right now. Is that Marshall? The right school? Yeah, Marshall. Mike Green out of Marshall. 11th player. Oh, best available 11th player. Still, chat. A lot of Mike Green stock. I mean, if Will Johnson's on the board, we said this before, of course, but if Will Johnson is there, that could be great. I was thinking that maybe Will Johnson would not be available and we'd have to be choosing, Barron would be the cornerback 1 left on the board when we were at that pick. But, of course, Will Johnson is now absolutely number 1 on our list. Barron as well, too, for that cornerback spot I really like. But I think maybe Mike Green might be number 2. Shout out. I just really like what I've read in some of the highlights. I mean, Mike Green's highlights are insane, Chad. Who doesn't like a good highlight package? But, okay, I guess they're doing some kind of starting. I just saw Anthony Richardson's name on the screen. They've got a list of the starting quarterbacks, and they've got the Colts as the only team with a slash. They've got Anthony Richardson / Daniel Jones. Yikes, chat. We'll see what happens there. Anthony Richardson, is he still on the team, chat, later in the draft? We'll see. But, Yeah, Mike Green definitely on the wish list. Walter Nolan would be fun pick as well too, but I don't know if that's a realistic pick for us to be taking in that spot. Tyler Warren could still be on the board, so couldn't be mad at that. Either of the Georgia guys would be nice too. At this point, Chet, and again, the post-draft research, hindsight is 20, not hindsight, but even in the offseason, we'll, again, the post-homework of the draft, catching up on some of these guys. But I guess that's the nice thing about not having to make the picks is we can form our opinions afterwards as well too. And then fit can definitely be a part of that. But I'm initially leaning toward liking pause, but having more stock in Mikael Williams than Jalen Walker for just siding between the Georgia guys. Maybe that would be my preference, but again, I'm probably not knowledgeable enough to be making the call in the draft room tonight. But either way, I'd be saying let's take Mike Green over all of them, chat. But who knows if that would be the right move. But I would say Mike Green, Will Johnson, Mike Green, Barron, and then Williams would be the list right now. Okay, was that the pick? Or were they just... salute to service, chat. Shout out. But offensive line help, of course, too. And then, we'll put Warren in the mix at number 5. So, Will Johnson to the Niners would make a lot of sense as well, too. Just that, I think, really solid guy that can hold up in coverage. A guy that maybe doesn't just, by really solid pause, I don't mean, he's average. But the guy that maybe doesn't have the insane high-end athletic traits, but again, is just an amazing skill player at his, that's, of course. Oh, it's Mikael Williams, chat. So he did end up being the first of the Georgia players off the board. Again, time will tell what the right pick was. But the NFL teams did value, I guess, his skill set over Walker's. Maybe it was more his, because I guess, with Walker, not to say that a 3, again, I don't mind a 3-4 edge guy, chat, for sure. I guess it just depends on what kind of team you want to build. And he's got some versatility to move him across the line. And then again, he can kind of stand up a little bit and play some linebacker. So that different versatility is not bad at all. Do we have to let this plane pass, chat? But the way Williams is able to play over the course of the entire line a little bit, and you can line him up a little bit inside, a little bit outside, is that's the kind of versatility that I really like from a defensive lineman, especially. And again, maybe the Colts have run some of that kind of stuff as well too. So it's just kind of used to, I don't know if it's just subconsciously what I'm used to watching. It's just he would fit maybe into the Colts scheme a little bit better. I mean, Jalen Walker would fit into the Colts scheme as well too. I mean, they're both very versatile defensive linemen, like we're saying. But that would have been my preference for the Georgia guys. So San Francisco, once again, chat, always weirdly in alignment with the Niners. It is what it is. Sometimes you just can't quit a team, chat. It's just well, I guess we thought the Niners were going to be on a downward trend this year, maybe a little bit. Who knows? But now they're drafting players that we like again. We'll see what happens in the second and third rounds here. But I would not be shocked if we're oh, yeah, the Niners, they had a draft that we really, really like. It's fun. So do we have best drafts, chat? 11 picks in. But again, I don't think anything is super surprising outside of the trade up, but the players taken themselves. Even, they traded up for the guy that we thought was going to be taken at number 2. Just maybe a little bit of a different team in that spot. Williams to the Niners is honestly the one at this point that's okay, that's not a name player combo that I thought that you see totally matched up a lot. But, him in this range, again, is not necessarily totally surprising either. So we're still kind of playing chalk, and there is, we're saying as well, a balance to this list where what would even, how far down the list would we have to go to get to a guy that is surprising, to be taken? If Pierce was taken, if we went to this Pierce, Harmon, Nolan, Hairston tier, but we're saying Mike Green, we love, so Hampton is been valued in maybe the top 20. Hampton could go to the Cowboys right here. Who knows, Chad? And is that position a need as well? Jerry Jones just drafting for need. Tyler Booker, the guard. We never want to give Cowboys the credit for being a analytically smart drafting team over the last couple of years, but they do really stick to sort of, hey, what would try to be the smart football move when it comes to some of the drafting stuff? Do they get in trouble with the money stuff maybe a little bit later down the road with the way they've constructed the contracts and the way they built the team. Yeah, but again, if they can continue to draft good around it, that's part of being able to pay those guys as well too. So they need offensive Booker. They need offensive lineman help. And they drafted, if I'm not mistaken, an offensive lineman last year as well. So I don't remember. Maybe that was a second-round pick. Was that Smith, chat? 2020. They took him in the first round of 2022. Smith, of course, has been pretty decent. Jones, 2021. Let's see. Steele. So maybe he just didn't make the starting lineup, chat. Oh, was it Guyton that I'm thinking of? Guyton in 2024. Yeah, 29th overall. They got the tackle out of Oklahoma. So maybe Guyton was, I don't know, Guyton was kind of in that range in the mocks last year. I don't think that was too much of a reach in that spot. Interesting receiver class, though, with Jalen Brooks and Jalen Tolbert. Mingo not even making the starting lineup, chat, for the receivers after making that trade. But I guess you put Booker in the Robert Jones spot, and now you have, and you know, you've really invested in that guard position in the first round. But like we're saying with the Patriots, some of these teams earlier, that's not bad. You're looking at the offensive line and going, okay, it's gonna be solid over the last couple of years. That's a bad thing. And again, with McMillan off the board as well too, like Hampton at 12 is probably a little bit of a reach. You could find value later in the draft with some of the weapon stuff, which I think they will do. And I think it's going to be a good look for the entire draft board if it plays out the right way. But maybe the defense gets a little bit left behind. But again, you need, with the way you've retained some of your players, and then, you know, if you still got Diggs, still got Bland. They were saying Parsons, of course. But Sam Williams, shout out. But yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of a, you know, you don't want to say long way up for the Cowboys. I think they are another like sneaky. Could they be a down team, a down year team next year? I mean, you know, they're not like a hot team off of this last year, but could they be another under 500 team again this year? I wouldn't be totally surprised. But them investing in the offensive line either way is why I think that, again, do they have Super Bowl hopes? Probably not. But you still just go best player available, build the roster out, protect Dak Prescott, keep the offense competent, and you're probably going to have to score points anyways. So you might as well be able to hold up and protect your guy. So Miami on the clock here at 13 is the only team that stands between us and Will Johnson at this point. Tyler Warren's still on the board. Jalen Walker is still on the board. So make no mistake, Will Johnson would be a great fit in Miami, chat. But could they go Barron? I actually love Barron as a prospect as well, too. I think Barron's going to be really good. But I'd be willing, again, with Will Johnson on the board, Barron to Miami, and then Will Johnson. That'd be a nice, like, you know, again, maybe another Latu verse situation. Hopefully not. Hopefully we'd be taking the better end of the deal. And they did. That's right. They took Chop Robinson last year. So maybe they don't go Jalen Walker. And you got Phillips as well, too, still. Bradley Chubb. You can't necessarily, like we're saying, go wrong with depth, but they do need secondary help. So there's a really good chance that this is either Barron or Will Johnson, or them probably trying to trade around as well too. They are letting the clock run down here a bit. So yeah, offensive line. I mean, you know, the Dolphins, again, they have high-end talent on the team, of course, with some of the receivers. And like we're saying, some good defensive line depth as well. But some of the positions that need an upgrade, it's like, oh yeah, they are definitely needing a new look there. Absolutely. And of course, you know, the question marks around Tua are going to be a major storyline. Westbrook Akine, chat, not even bad. They always, I think, Dolphins with McDaniels, like a sneaky another, they have a receiver team. They're able to find like a random third guy to just have in the mix. But here we go. The pick is in. But either way, the fact that we're kind of guaranteed a secondary guy being on the board for Indy is just leaves us in a good spot as a fan. Again, we'll know where the Colts, we'll see where they want to go here just in terms of a overall direction. But I like the options that we're going to have. Mike Green is probably, oh, well, maybe they go Mike Green here, chat, the Dolphins. But I assume that the edge guys are going to be available. Do they have Walker as linebacker? Oh, they do. I was going to say, did they pick Walker? And they're not putting it up there yet, but no, Walker, Campbell. I mean, they could go maybe like Campbell if they wanted to get real frisky. But Terrell Dodson, yeah, he's not bad, chat. And Jordan Brooks, yeah, their linebacker core, you're not going to be upgrading that in the first round. Unless, again, you want to go with the more versatile pass rusher. Do they go safety? Eman Wari, I should also put Eman Wari on the Colts list at 14, but I just... maybe I have to start balancing again, like what is actually going to be on there. Like, I don't know if Eman Wari's on their list at 14. It doesn't seem like he's in that range for NFL guys. Let's see where they have him on the total board here real fast. We might be getting close to his range, though. Yeah, they have him as 15th best available at this point. So, again, we're 13 picks in. So, he is more of a end of the first round, maybe, top of the second round type guy. But I forget who it was. Maybe it was Kuiper said that he is not, like, really, you know, he's not comparing him as the type of player to Kyle Hamilton, but there's a versatility there that's very similar in just maybe how dynamic of a weapon he could be as sort of a roamer on the field. And again, maybe you are saying that he is a Kyle Hamilton, again, level attacker. Maybe some of the coverage stuff that Hamilton's able to handle is a little bit better. But Eman Wari as an athlete and attacker can maybe give you the same sort of spot as the same sort of hybrid position on the field, that linebacker safety spot. So Eman Wari's definitely on the Colts secondary list as well too. And like we're saying, a guy that can play right now, be a long-term guy as well too. But a box safety linebacker, like we could use linebacker help. So I know you wouldn't necessarily be bringing him in as a full-time linebacker. And then we got good grades in our linebackers chat, but you know, I think some unproven guys here for sure. Maybe some more special teams grades than actual, you know, on the field play. And like we're saying, you know, you look at the secondary that we have right now, those two guys is a good 1-2 combo in Kenny Moore and Ward. But ideally, you want Kenny Moore working out of the nickel, and then Brents as the outside corner is still a, you know, second round pick from last couple years ago. But we still just need to see him get on the field consistently at least to make a move. And again, like Mike Green, we could still use those edge rushers. So not out of building that depth. There's a lot. The Colts could really go any direction, chat. Again, there's a lot of balance, but a lot of plays to continue to raise the floor / elevate the ceiling for the team as well. So let's see if Miami takes the Michigan guy or not. Or, I mean, he'd be a great fit. But maybe this is an Eman Wari team. Like, they just need a dynamic secondary guy. This could be a fun Eman Wari team. Him in a Niners influence coaching staff with Mike Daniels. Oh, Grant chat. Kenneth Grant. 4 Michigan players now. Or 3. I'm already I'm already drafting Will Johnson. So, I mean, maybe 4 if Will Johnson goes. I told you guys Kenneth Grant's going to be a good pro, and the Dolphins believe it. Great pick. Best pick of the night. The value chat. They, of course, you know, have lost Christian Wilkins there over the last couple years. And I know they had Phillips in that lineup on PFF here for the interior spot a little bit and the defensive line. And not to say that you couldn't, again, have a rotation and have some versatility with the way you're able to play these guys. But Phillips, of course, is a great edge rusher as well, too. And Chubb, a little older, you know, some health concerns over the last couple of years. Now that you're able to have some depth there. And Chop Robinson as well, too. Maybe he just continues to need to get better. But, yeah, you're going to be able to put... Oh, chat, the Colts are ready to go. That is Tyler Warren if I ever saw it. Oh, Ballard. He made that pick right away. So that might be the Guinness right there. Do I need to rewind the clock? Holy cow. How much time did we even take? I'm going to, chat. I'm going to rewind here real fast. How long did we take? Does it even display the Colts draft time at all? Did I miss it? Or did it run down a little bit and then, you know, while Miami had the pick graphic up? Yeah, it literally just goes, oh, yeah, so 5. Okay, yeah, okay. So it was me just not paying attention / the Dolphins graphics and stuff being in the mix. So they used a good 5 minutes on their pick. Shout out. Okay, Ballard, my bad. IT, cut that out. We are locked in. Maybe Kenneth Grant was high on their board, and they're like, okay, now that he's off, we need to go. But like we were saying, maybe some of the secondary stuff, maybe it is Johnson or Barron or something. Because I'm not against taking a tight end here, but with just the state of the team, I think we could trend towards some more premium positions and try to build those out while we try to figure out this question mark at quarterback going forward. But yeah, you're going to be able to, like Kenneth Grant, again, with the athleticism and the, again, you say athleticism, there's like a leanness to some of these pass rushers. But again, Chubb and Phillips can be sturdy enough to hold up on the inside. But Grant's going to be like, Chad, I'm not throwing, again, now we're doing the comps to the great players. I'm not saying Dexter Lawrence, but he's going to be that kind of space taker upper in the middle, if that makes sense. He's maybe going to be a guy that if the power and the impact and the push is there, he could be a 2-block type guy. And now all of a sudden, Chubb and Phillips, Phillips and Robinson are attacking one-on-one with, 3-on-4, basically. With or 3-on-3 basically, with Grant taking up 2 blocks would be a great situation to be in, and then I think could really again help the secondary. So that's like a pretty nice little move there. And again, I don't know if we're going to be biased looking for the bright side of it, but I like the way that can affect the rest of the defense, putting him in the middle of the defensive line there. Kenneth Grant, again, I know like maybe how you want to value him at the defensive tackle ratings, but like Nolan and some of those other guys, there's a little bit more of a, are they a little, and Chris Jones again is a high level comp. So if we're just comping these guys to all pros, that's how we'll do it here, Chad, I guess, pause. But, he's a little bit more on the smaller side, I guess, of defensive tackle. So maybe there's a case where he's not, the baseline of him is not a 2-block guy. Like we're saying, the baseline of Grant might just be a 2-block guy. Just his size and power is going to be too much to deal with. Okay, here we go, chat. Colts pick is in. So it is a tight end, chat. Shout out. The smart football move, I guess, Tyler Warren is going to be an instant impact starter. And I guess, the blocking. I mean, I love Tyler Warren, chat. I think Tyler Warren's a great prospect. I think Tyler Warren's family is reacting about as much as we are right now. They're excited, chat. Maybe they expected him to be a higher pick, is the thing. And, I guess we could start going into the Colts history of great tight ends as well, too. It's definitely a good spot on the roster for that franchise, for our franchise. We've had some good legacy guys there in the past, absolutely. I mean, you're seeing Tyler Warren here, we're number 44 in the back of the end zone, and it's bringing up great flashbacks. So, that's definitely getting me a little bit excited, chat. But, we left Will Johnson on the board. Is a bit of a bummer. Is a bit tough. Barron as well, too, is nice. But, oh, chat, look at him taking the safety out the back of the end zone of the block. Blocking on some of those Anthony. He can play quarterback if Anthony Richardson subs out. He's a better runner and thrower than Daniel Jones. I mean, Tyler Warren might be the best quarterback on the roster as well, too. Is that the sneaky value of taking him 14? Who knows? But if we were, again, doing that list of who is going to be a good football player in this draft, like Tyler Warren is going to be a good football player. And I got to be honest, I'm putting Kenneth Grant on that list as well. Like, I know we said that earlier, but lock him in, Chad. Just my non-official big board is Kenneth Grant's a top 15 player in this draft, but so is Will Johnson as well, too. So Atlanta could take Will Johnson here, absolutely. 4 Michigan players in the top 15. A third of the top 15 is Michigan, the Michigan defense. Yeah, Chad. I mean, again, you call that Ohio State game an upset, but it's like, oh, wait a second. Michigan has 4 players off the board before Ohio State. Maybe there is a little bit of something to it. 45 snaps at quarterback for Tyler Warren? Whoa, chat. Even 1 snap at center. So you love the versatility, Ballard. I mean, he loves football guys. Does he see maybe a little Kelsey in Tyler Warren? Of course, Ballard worked with the Chiefs there for a while, so hopefully that's a comp that he's able to see when he looks at Tyler Warren. But again, he's going to be an impact starter. He's going to be an instant impact guy for the roster. So it's not a bad pick. It's just some of the maybe flashier, sexier positions we were invested in. And Defensive back's probably my favorite position on the pause. Hey yo, Chad. Hey yo. But safety and cornerback are probably the two favorites. So I'm just gonna want to draft those guys every year, I guess. But again, we could have continued to build up the defense as well. But now you look at the Colts and go, okay, we do have a class of weapons here to work with, and that tight end spot was sort of the last. Whoa, excuse us, chat. Sort of the last piece in that stack of weapons. Like, the receiving core for us is really good right now, chat. I love the Pittman, Downs, Pierce, Adonai Mitchell. I mean, there's a lot of size, speed, athleticism, and then Downs to work underneath. Like, that's a great receiving core. I really, really love our receiving core. Of course, Taylor at running back. And now, like we're saying, maybe you go, okay, what are we looking in this draft class? Could we get nitpicky about the guys that are being drafted after him, and maybe we like him more on our own personal board? But if we just blank slate and look at the Colts stack of weapons, you go, okay, we have the receiver, we have the tight end, we have the running back. Like, it is a complete offense, and like maybe the right side of the offensive line still needs built up a little bit as well too. But it is a pretty complete offense now that we add that tight end in there. So again, I totally understand us taking a tight end. I'm not saying it's a bad move. It's just Will Johnson. We left him on the board, chat. Shout out. Could have had a Will Johnson Colts jersey. NIL days, now I can get a Will Johnson Michigan jersey and a Will Johnson Colts jersey. Just keep the timeline going. And, anytime we draft a Big Ten rival team guy, it's always a little bit weird. Plus, Ballard likes Big Ten guys, but, it feels like we never really end up getting Michigan guys either. We just end up like Ballard. I think his first draft pick as general manager for the Colts was Malik Hooker out of Ohio State. So he loves watching the conference. I mean, Jonathan Taylor, of course, Wisconsin. Anthony Richardson was an SEC guy, but yeah, he keeps his Big Ten streak going with Tyler Warren off the board to Indianapolis, Chad. So Atlanta on the clock here with a minute in. About a minute left. Of course, they've been notoriously one of the weaker sack teams in the league. Hey, yo, chat. And, you hate to be known as a team with a weak sack, chat, but that's the Falcons. Weak sacks. So you still got Jalen Walker on the board. You still could go secondary like we're saying, but Kenneth Grant could have been a nice team. Mike Green, chat. Walter Nolan. But it'd be difficult for them not to go Jalen Walker here, I'd imagine, and take the edge guys. But we do love the secondary possibilities as well, too, for Atlanta, like we're saying. But, if Will Johnson can't go to the Colts, Chad, not to say that I want the man to fall down the board. It's just, I guess it doesn't really matter the landing spot if it makes sense. But it does matter. For, I guess, his own sake, what would be the best spot for him? I mean, you're playing across A.J. Terrell would be a nice... he could take the number one guy if you need, but also Will Johnson has that upside to immediately step in and be the best corner as well. But, do you surround Penix with... I mean, the tight ends are off the board. The McMillan-Hunter combo of those top receivers are off the board. So unless they want to reach on, hypothetically reach on a receiver, you're not going to go running back, of course, because of Bijan. So Shedeur still on the board, chat, of course, at 15. But it's got to be either Walker or Will Johnson. You imagine they just go best player available and get yourself a nice young edge rusher. Leonard Floyd, could be a nice defensive veteran piece there as well, too. And, how do you... I forget how to say this last name, Chad. It's not draft time anymore. Ibikite? Something like that. He's been, of course, as you see on the grade, a solid pass rusher as well, too. He's definitely a guy you're like, okay, if we get that stud pass rusher, then he's a great guy to have in the rotation. And just a great depth guy as well, too. Pause. But Onyemata, we have a lot of Onyemata stock as well. So, now we're doing the Shedeur Sanders QB slide piece of it. But, and we'd have to go back in history and look at all of these QB slides one by one. But the problem as well, too, becomes once you slide past, of course, a certain point in the draft is what becomes the need. Like, quarterback is weird like that. What becomes the need for quarterback? Do the teams want like does a team like Indy want to go, and not, Shedeur specifically as well, but does a team like Indy want to go, okay, let's gamble on it a third quarterback and take best player available if that was a quarterback, or do we continue to add it in the roster in these other ways that we might need? Like the Falcons, they don't need these run of teams, they just don't need a quarterback. So it's not Shedeur, Sanders. Like we almost have to review the quarterback slide a little bit differently. Like it has to be almost a pause, but is this the Shedeur Sanders draft party, or is this ESPN? Because they just wandered outside of something like into a tent situation. I guess looking at the people at this barbecue chat, it's probably not a Shedeur Sanders draft party, but it does look like it could be a little bit of a fun get together. Either way, but I am not saying that we're going back to the juke joint setup of who's invited into where, but I'm just saying I think that maybe Shedeur Sanders would have had a little better mix than what was on the shot of Green Bay fans right there. But what are we talking about, chat? Falcons pick at 15. So yeah, there almost needs to be a QB slide pause between some of these picks, where it's like once we get from pick, and I guess like we were saying, the Niners could have been that last team where do they go crazy and take a quarterback at 11 because of their quarterback controversy. But once we go from 11 to 20, we need to pause that for that QB slide range. And then again, those teams from 20 to 32 are not necessarily going to need a quarterback right away a lot of the times, unless you're the Steelers. But, then it becomes, does a team just trade back up and get you as well, too? So, yeah, Jalen Walker goes off the board here. The analytics were saying less than 1% chance that he was on the board. But, again, I think there was a strong debate between him and Williams as the better Georgia defensive lineman. So, we're still in the shuffle of guys that he is, I think. And again, however you want to play the board out, maybe he's not closely related on your board, but I still think this is all the same tier-ish of guys. So good value for them to get the pass rusher and the guy that is also, again, maybe not as likely to have been there when we started the draft. But Arizona on the board at 16, like we're saying. I mean, I guess they don't need a quarterback. I don't know if we get super crazy and go... is Jackson Dart in play here, chat? Can he be mentored by does Kyler Murray want to start mentoring people at this phase in his career? I don't think he's quite there yet. Josh Sweat, you forget about the Josh Sweat acquisition. Arizona, always been a sneaky, they go out and grab that pass rusher type guy. Who was the guy? Was it Alex Golden they had there for a minute? There's a Marcus something. I don't know. They've always sneaky had good kind of pass rushers hanging around. So Sweat's going to be a nice addition there. Of course, the offense is rounding into shape. So maybe you do you go I guess you could go maybe line here, of course, if we want to continue to build out that spot. Well, what do we got for guards, chat? Zabel? I think the rumors were Zabel was going to start heating up. His name's going to start heating up in this range, chat. So he's a case. Simmons is a case. Maybe Connerly at 8-16 is probably we're probably a couple of picks away. And I don't know if we have a true center that's quite up in the mix for the first round here, chat. But maybe we go Zabel for this pick. Or maybe, again, at some point the corners have to be the good value on the board. I mean, Cincinnati could use a corner at 17. I think the Seahawks are always happy to take best player available, whoever that may be. But Murphy Bunting and Thomas the Fifth, Starling Thomas the Fifth, shout out. I mean, I think it's a fun athletic combo, but I don't think it's, the highest all-pro upside combo. Oh, Williams, chat. Who do we got here? Garrett Williams, shout out. The box safety slot corner that was teared up last year under the radar. Number 3 overall in the PFF grade for the cornerback. What do we got for... Yeah, see, only 14 snaps for the punt return team and 29 snaps for field goal block team. So I know that is, how many special team snaps you're going to be taking in general, as those are usually one play, runs. But, of course, you see that he was playing all over the box slot safety area as well, too. So that's why maybe in terms of taking, again, a guy like Will Johnson or Barron, who I mean, Barron has some versatility as well with the way that you could play him. But if you took a guy like Will Johnson who could just play on the outside, and now you have Williams, who's a versatile piece, Murphy, Bunting, and Thomas's jobs become a little easier. I mean, chat, what are we doing? Will Johnson, he has to be off the board here. The Cardinals, Will Johnson and Marvin Harrison Jr. battling it out in practice, chat. I mean, iron sharpens iron. You'd have the pause. Do we have to pause the sharpest iron in the league? It feels like a pause, so we'll say it. But, I mean, you think about where were we at pre-draft with Will Johnson as well, too, and I don't think, outside of the injury stuff and, again, maybe some of the athletic testing, the skill is still there. So I know you go back to the athletic testing for some of the other top-end corners, and they still have tested out well, but I don't think that you necessarily need to be an elite tester at corner as well. There's some technique stuff that, like, what did Revis test at, chat? You know? Do we get a 40 time on Revis? Again, not saying he's running like in the 4.5s and 4.6s, but notice that, again, what was Will Johnson's 40 time even an issue, chat? Did he run? Maybe he was in the 4.5s, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a look here, chat. And a businessman as well, too. You know, selling merch on his website, of course, so you know, you got to respect the hustle if you're a team. Why not? Do we have the... Yeah, so he didn't, I guess, do the athletic testing, as I think probably wouldn't have necessarily risen his stock that much. But the size, chat pause, the dimensions are all there. 5.8 seconds left. Knicks up by 3, 116 to 113. Whoa, chat, lock in. Cade Cunningham clutch time. Or Malik Beasley clutch time. I don't know. He's kind of massaging a tendon on the bicep, kind of. They have him out of the game right now. So is it... Who's inbounding? Let me get caught back up here real quick. I can't find the inbounder. Where's he at? Why is he not... What's going on? Are they just tussling up? I think they're just talking. I don't think they're even setting up for an inbound. Oh, wait. The inbound's on the other side of the camera. Again, we're watching the backboard cam. We're not watching the normal broadcast, the TNT overtime. So there we go. Knicks inbounding. They're going to have to foul here. Or try to get the steal. Brunson gets the ball. Whoa, Walter Nolan, chat. Ole Miss. Arizona. They did this with Robert Kimdichie back in the day. The highly rated, and I know totally different management as well now too compared to the Kimdichie management, but they took the highly rated defensive line prospect who also went to Ole Miss in the first round of the draft. And like we're saying, they need defense. You can plug him in, pause to the middle. Calais Campbell? Walter Nolan, Calais Campbell? I like it, chat. We're seeing, of course, I mean, the Eagles even more accentuating the value of strong defensive line, but just that entire collection, that rotation, the ability to... Again, like we're saying, how the interior guys impact exterior guys. I mean, the Eagles' just depth of that was, I mean, a thing that teams are going to try to copy, chat. I don't know. We can't speak right now. The draft is too exciting. But, yeah, that's a fun combo mentorship-wise for Nolan and skill-wise as well, too. And Zaven Collins and Zach Sweat is another fun edge combo as well. So... this could be a sneaky defensive line for Arizona. If they go secondary maybe in the second round and just continue to build out the... Wilson could be good. Dortch is a solid performer. And maybe that's where they go third round or offensive line. But either way, you know, you're relying still on McBride as well, too. Like, just a weapons combo of Harrison and McBride is two pretty good receivers. And then... you know, Connor is, even more than held up, chat. 5th best running back in the league this year. He did have a really good resurgence here. He kind of goes back and forth between being like a best running back in the league and a mid running back. But, you know, at worst, he's going to be a mid running back either way. So your offense is going to be pretty solid. But, yeah, again, I Walter Nolan. I like the fact that, yes, maybe he was like, okay, #1 high school prospect, be the #1 overall pick in the draft. But again, like how many times does that happen? Especially for even a defensive, well, you know, you get a guy like Myles Garrett or something, Clowney. But it's not like it's not like Nolan fell that far out of the mix from that spot, and he still displayed all that talent. Just matching some of the production stuff with it was a part of it as well too. But great value for the Cardinals. I like that pick, of course. But since we're at the halfway point here in the first round, chat, let's take a quick break. Bengals on the clock. We're getting the pick is in on the computer, but not on the TV. So it's the Bengals. Okay, I guess I can't help myself. We have to watch the pick. Are they going to go to timeout as well, too? Oh, chat, they're going to go to timeout as well. Oh, well, we might even be back before them. It is what it is. They're not going to, they're like, we don't even need to get this Bengals pick in right away. It doesn't matter. But, yeah, let's go to break real quick, and then we'll be back, of course, continuing to follow along the first half, or the first round, I guess, of the NFL draft. Second half of the first round. There we go. Okay, chat, the Pistons are down 2 with a half a second left, so hopefully we don't miss a miracle moment in that playoff game. Is there also another playoff game going on right now? There's, like we said, shout out to NBA playoffs. Only the NFL could swoop in for a night and just be like, NBA playoffs, step aside. Our draft is taking center stage. But, again, it is just one night. It's not like night 2 of the NFL draft is necessarily going to take stage over that. But, yeah, I guess it is OKC Memphis. Memphis at home, check. Game 3. We've got a lead. Memphis has the lead in the series by 10. Whoa, OKC. So Shea 4 for 6. When Shea plays well, they win. Or when they lose, when Shea plays bad, they win by 50, I guess. Who knows? But there we go, chat. Game over. Pistons lost. Yep, it is what it is. But and maybe it's good for them a little bit to have this kind of moment against the Grizzlies because, again, they're up 2-0. I don't think the Grizzlies are a team that we think are going to win this series. I mean, again, we did debate about whether or not they're going to win a game. So the fact that they can, at least from a pride standpoint, turn this around. This is a 60-point swing over the course of the series, chat. Losing by 50, now they're up by 10. But, to have that kind of pride and dignity, steal a game here could be good for them headed into the offseason as well, too. Maybe Ja Morant and the Ja Morant vibes, though. Maybe more the Scottie Pippen Jr. vibes, chat. 4 for 4 from 3 tonight. He's got 14 points. He's carrying them in this game. It is what it is. We knew Scottie Pippen Jr. would have a moment at some point. Lou Dort, the only person he can't stop is Scottie Pippen Jr. Somebody, maybe he'll get paid in the offseason or something for his playoff abilities. But to have this kind of moment against, again, a team like the Grizzlies where you have to experience that fight back in the playoffs, and now because make no mistake, chat, they could be playing, we got Nuggets versus Clippers tonight, maybe the Nuggets on the road in LA, up against the Wall, the first playoff game for the Wall. Maybe we'll see what happens there. I guess that game's about to start, chat. Should we fire that one up real quick? What happened to the remote? Uh-oh, chat. Give me a quick timeout second. I need to go grab the remote. I left it up off the screen real fast. Okay, that was good too, chat, because I left my snacks off screen as well. So we are... Hey, yo, what am I talking about? What am I, Taj Boyd here, studying for an exam? But no, our actual snacks off the screen. But yeah, maybe good for him a little bit, because yeah, what were we saying? The Nuggets, like, he'll be playing the Nuggets after this series against the Grizzlies for sure. But there is a chance they could be playing the Clippers. And chat, our guy Snoop Dogg thinks that the Clippers could take down the OKC Thunder in a playoff series at this point. So if Snoop is saying it, there's got to be real vibes in the air at this point. And there's Gray Zabel off the board for the Seahawks. We should also mention as well, too, Shamar Stewart off the board for the Bengals. But if our guy Snoop is saying the Thunder are going to lose to the Clippers, there's some serious red flags there, chat. So for them to get pseudo battle tested a little bit here against the Grizzlies and have a moment where it's like, okay, we got to lock in, we got to fight back, we got to overcome something here in a playoff game on the road is going to be a good moment for them to have to work through. And we'll see how they're able to deal with it here as well. But, unfortunately, that game is just not going to get second screen time. It is what it is. Even with the Grizzlies up, even with the Grizzlies in the lead, unfortunately, it just doesn't. Jokic versus Kawhi and the way this series is playing out right now, chat, it cannot be missed. It has to be center stage. Jokic, of course, the best player in the world, is going to be must-watch TV by himself. But Stewart, chat, like we were saying, off the board to the Bengals. Who doesn't love a guy that just feels like he should be producing a ton, but doesn't get the numbers at all? Man, chat, what is going on? The Will Johnson slide out of the top 20 is going to be crazy. Best value in the draft. What are we doing here? But getting that interior line help with Zabel was definitely a need for the Seahawks in that Michael Michael McDonald chat. What is it a coach or what do they have? A yacht rock singer? I forget who is necessarily running the team over there for the Seahawks. But yeah, with Stewart anyways, again, another sort of stereotypical move because I feel like the Bengals have also drafted. Who was the guy for the Tigers, Clemson Tigers? Miles Murphy. I feel like Stewart is a little Miles Murphy-ish with his prospect type. So, you know, in the long term, you think is Miles Murphy and Shamar Stewart the new Trey Hendrickson and Sam Hubbard chat. Hey, yo. But Sam Hubbard, of course, retired, if I'm not mistaken, in the offseason. So you still have Hendrickson on the team, and now, of course, maybe some rotation guys around him as well, too. But Stewart and Murphy can be definitely a pretty good combo, I think, next to Henderson. And like we're saying as well, too, gives you versatility if they're not able. I forget, is Hendrickson's a free agent right now? No? Do we need to double check that? Let's close out of this BattleBot Minotaur chat. And let's see what the contract situation is for our guy Trey Hendrickson. Because he either is got 1 year left and looking for an extension or needs... Because they were talking about trading him as well. So it has to be extension talk for him. But yeah, expiring deal, $15 million in base salary, $18 million cap hit this year for Trey Hendrickson. So, you know, definitely deserving over the last couple of years of production of a pay raise. Absolutely. But good rotation and setting yourself up for success a little bit later on if you're Cincinnati. Tampa Bay. So we've got 2 picks here basically before we get to the Steelers. And I think when we get to Steelers, of course, that is when the quarterback conversation starts to heat back up a little bit because, or maybe it does heat up right now as well too, because if a team feels like the Steelers are going to take Jackson Dart, then maybe these 2 picks here are in the range of we need to start leaping the Steelers to get in the mix. So we got, well, I guess the clock is frozen right now on ESPN. Hey, yo, chat. Clock. There's an L in there. It's frozen right now on ESPN at 4:55. So I don't know. Yeah, maybe the trades froze the league. Oh, there we go. No, it just reset to 8.5 minutes. So I don't know, chat. Did we just hit a time loop? What happened? Oh, the pick is in. It doesn't even matter. So no trades, no nothing. Jackson Dart here. He's got to be in this range. But again, Shedeur is kind of the Steelers pick. I think maybe there's some culture stuff that would, like, is Shedeur maybe more for, like, do the Steelers check the boxes for what Deion is looking for in a team for Shedeur Sanders? But if Jackson Dart's on the board, I mean, we've seen the NFL list pretty much. And again, they're talking about the slide for Shedeur Sanders. But again, I don't even know if this is fair at this point because it's the slide on Mel's big board. Not to disrespect Shedeur, like maybe Mel's big board is actually the way to look at Shedeur's value as an NFL prospect. But again, teams are maybe valuing Jackson Dart over Shedeur Sanders. So Jackson Dart is still on the board at this point. So maybe this is a dual piece of, oh, the quarterbacks are falling in this draft. But Shedeur Sanders' percent chance available, there was a 7% chance he was available, I guess, at the 21st pick headed in tonight, according to the indicators, I guess, the ESPN analytics. But again, if Jackson Dart is still on the board, like, this is still in consensus with what the NFL is thinking, I think, as a whole, what it seemed like the vibes were going into the draft. And if, honestly, I think I would be more surprised. Well, the Steelers, I guess, are the one team, but if the Steelers don't take a quarterback for some reason, I guess, then I'd be surprised if a team doesn't trade back up for Jackson Dart before they trade back up for Shedeur Sanders at this point. Again, maybe it'd be Sanders smokescreen, but with the way it's being talked about, it seems like he's the premier guy. And again, what does a slide even mean? You go to a better team outside of a team trading back up for you? Like, if you're Deion, obviously, and that's obviously the conversation in the room at this point is, you know, hey, you're going to a better team. You know, maybe the possibility of starting in a team like New York is more so right away. But again, they've got the veteran guys there that they're probably going to be running out week 1 regardless. And then, you know, I guess Dable is a good coach to be probably developed under. But apparently that meeting didn't go well. So that definitely was not going to happen. That pairing was not going to happen. But Tampa Bay is going to take... Oh, Ibuka, chat. They're going to draft receiver, and maybe that's the first surprise pick, but I got to be honest. Again, I think this makes total sense. I think we could get into projecting the upsides, and it's totally fair. I mean, that's what the draft is all about. But I think especially the receiver position, there's almost a baseline aspect to it. As like the receiver position is the one position where the baseline is as almost important as the upside. If that makes sense, where again, it's a little quarterback dependent as well. So if you're a team like Tampa, you go with what Baker showed. You know, we believe that Baker can still continue to be a Pro Bowl / playoff level quarterback for this team. And if we stack the offense around him, and especially with the injuries that they had at that position last year, they were decimated by injuries. You still would love to think that Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are going to be a great combination going forward. But you're going to need depth around them as well. And they had good guys that were able to step up in the moment as well, too. Some sneaky fantasy waiver wire options. But I honestly think this is totally fair that Ibuka is wide receiver 3 off the board, because I think he would have been 3rd on my list as well, too. It's just, you're like, who's going to be good at wide receiver? Probably Ibuka. Guess what he does? He runs routes, he gets open, and he's pretty good with the ball afterwards as well, too. Pause. So there's, you look, is this guy a little faster? Is this guy a little more explosive? But nobody's a better route runner in the, like, did somebody say he's the best? Here, let's look, chat. Does it say best route runner in the class? Excels at taking out zone looks. He squares up, gives the quarterback a big target when settling into underneath windows. The way he flattens out and get out of the breaks makes it tough for defensive backs to jump his routes. Maybe it was Danny Kelly. They have him compared to McConkey. So McConkey's sort of a, route runner extraordinaire in a way in his own right last year. Let's go. Why don't we get a scroll chat on this? Apparently, we just get the scroll on this one. But for Ibuka, literally comped him to Chris Godwin. Shout out Danny Kelly, predicting the future, I guess. Highly productive slot receiver with quickness to create yards after the catch, and the blocking chops make impact after the run. So I guess, so just savvy route running skills. So I don't know who gets the label as best route runner in their class. Maybe it's Golden? Burden, but I like this class as well too, of course, as pass catchers. But yeah, I think Ibuka, wide receiver 3, absolutely perfect listing there for the order of those guys. And yeah, we'll definitely supercharge this offense. And Godwin and him have versatility in the way they can be lined up. Godwin we've seen work out from the slot, same with Ibuka, and maybe Godwin even, he's so good from the slot that if he's out there, that's going to be great. Yeah, McMillan, chat. Jalen McMillan, 97 out of 133 seems a little unfair. Seems like he's giving you a little bit more production than that. They probably would have liked one of the, shout out Kate Otten, but maybe it could have been fun to have a tight end on the board there as well, too. I mean, they do pass on the corners. They probably like McCollum. Zion McCollum. I think he is a sneaky, could hold down the starter spot. Absolutely, yeah. Dean's still there, playing well. Is this, Tyke Smith, chat? 3rd round last year. Had a good year, according to the PFF grade. And then, yeah, Winfield, of course, in the secondary, holding things down as well. So, I mean, it's not like Will Johnson couldn't have stepped into this team. But, again, I think this team is trying to be competitive right away. So, with some of the edge rushers off the board, maybe Mike Green would have been nice here, but they also are the team that got Reddick as well. So, shout out, the PFF grade is unfortunately going to reflect the way the contract situation played out. But he makes sense for the type of pass rushers that they've had in the past, and him with some of these line options, and Diaby playing so well, like maybe Reddick is the 2 pass rusher in this lineup. That could be good. They could have continued the offensive line. But yeah, Ibuka and supercharging the offense, I don't mind. You go maybe running back, but they do have Bucky Irving as well too, so their running back tandem is pretty solid. And they could just maybe because of the Bucky Irving pick, they're just a team that looks more to gravitate toward that spot later in the draft, as well as, most teams seem. So I guess the Broncos are a Hampton team. Hampton was on the board. The Broncos, they are a need a running back team. Is Javonte Williams, I guess, I guess he's in, need a running back territory if he's on your roster. And not saying that is not necessarily the case. Not necessarily saying that you wouldn't need at least another option to mix it up. McLaughlin? I don't know, chat. I kind of like McLaughlin. I think if you paired McLaughlin with, and I don't know, we're stepping on day 2 material here, chat, but if you paired McLaughlin with one of those later running backs, that could be a fun look. I know Hampton has a potential to be, again, really high-level 3-down back, and maybe there's some patch casting stuff as well, too, there with him, but Henderson, Henderson's tough. Henderson is sort of a bigger running back as well, too. I mean, you see Hampton is just, 6 foot, 221. The man's a beast. But I think Hampton with Henderson with sort of a powerful run style, mix that with McLaughlin as a sneaky pass catcher, versatile back. I mean, this is a good draft, chat. This is a really good draft. Again, I'm looking at best available. Shedeur, again, we love Shedeur here, but Shedeur, Will Johnson, Hampton, Simons from Ohio State, and then Golden, the receiver. And you look at the players that have gone above them, and there's nothing super crazy. That again, Ibuka maybe, but that would be more of a positional value thing. It's just, would you value a corner over a receiver? But I don't think you could say that Ibuka is going to be a worse pro than any of these guys. He's one of those safer bets. Stewart is a little bit of a swing, for sure. And I think Nolan maybe is a little bit of a jump up. But again, with the high school pedigree, you can't be surprised that a team. And again, I'm looking at, I'm talking, like Kenneth Grant, lock it in, chat. We love that pick. So I'm looking at this going, actually, the Dolphins are making us look stupid and, making the draft board actually make sense by taking Kenneth Grant in that spot. So I guess the Broncos could also be a cornerback team as well, too. Let's see what we got going on, chat. Moss, shout out. But Will Johnson, do they just go best player left here and just say, hey, Will Johnson at 20? Come on, chat. We still have the chance to have Michigan to have 4 players in the top 20. That's still 20% of the top 20 taken in the top 20, I think, chat. So there's still a possibility. And then I guess, top 24, there's still a chance that 1/6 of the top 24 is there's no way Will Johnson's not going to be taken in the top 25, chat. I mean, Chris Ballard, get on the phones. Let's get to trade back up for Will Johnson at this point, honestly. Pittsburgh, Joey Porter Jr. and Will Johnson. I mean, how do you not love that combination? But they do have a solid pass rush as well, so I don't know if Mike Green is a look here. Maybe Eamon Wari, but I guess they got Hufanga as safety as well in the offseason. Brandon Jones playing well last year for him. So Will Johnson would really supercharge that secondary in a way. And again, I get the running back pick as well, too. A receiver as well here with Golden still on the board. But here, let's get the pick. Barron, it's Barron the corner. So we don't necessarily support Barron over Will Johnson, but we support Barron as a pick. Absolutely. He was on our wish list of guys for the Colts. He was, for us, again, one of the safer players in the draft. Is this guy will be good. It's just, how much better do you think some of these other players will be over him? And again, I just love the idea of them going corner there. The running back is a quote-unquote position in need, but let's look at them in the second here. Let's look at what we're working with in the second for picks. And maybe, second and third as well, too. Maybe a third-round running back. But Higgins at 51. So, yeah, receiver is projected here on Tankathon in the second round of the mock. And then a third round would be the corner at 85. So, again, maybe that was drafting position in need with them taking let's see here. What did they have in this mock? Yeah, them taking Hampton in the mock, of course. Campbell, a top 20 pick in the Tankathon mock. So is Mike Green. Shout out Will Johnson, of course. But you see Barron, the 13th pick in the mock at 20. I mean, again, I think this is absolutely true. A top 15 player in the draft taken at 20 is absolutely great value. And I think a really smart way to continue to build up this roster. And I guess you could, get aggressive as well, too, with trading up a little bit in the second and third if you want to start targeting certain running backs and cornerbacks. But again, I think this is just a super stacked running back class to go get a guy. And like I'm saying, I like McLaughlin. So if you don't think, hey, we have the opportunity, Hampton can go in and just take over back position. But like we're saying, you have the ability to go, let's get defense, and then let's go with another running back that can add to the running back room, but still build on the talent that we already have there as well, too. Scattaboo, chat? Scattaboo? He's 91 overall on the Tankathon board. So if Scattaboo's there in the third, you get Scattaboo and McLaughlin and Javonte Williams if he's still there. Let's go roster and see who's even all on the roster. Javonte Williams, RB3 is not bad. That start becoming real good. Oh, so Williams is gone. So McLaughlin is in the lead role. So yeah, I get, McLaughlin is a lead back. Maybe it's a little much to ask for, but he's going to, if he has to be the lead back as well, he's not going to do a bad job. Tyler Batty as the other guy. I think the running back, we know it, chat. So I think it's smart for them to make that move there. I mean, Ollie Gordon and Damian Martinez at 114 is just another, Devin Neal. Jordan James at 130. I mean, chat, they could take Jordan James in like the 4th round and be totally fine. You think about their tough running style. I mean, Martinez is such a tough runner that him and McLaughlin would be a fun combination as well, too. I think there's just ways for them to go here. And like we're saying, this receiver class, I like all the names that we'll see here. Hunter, of course, McMillan, Golden, Mbuka, Burden. I still like Burden as well, too, as a prospect. I get he's dropped a little bit. But all the, lock it in, chat. All these receivers are going to be good if they hit a quarterback. But here is the Shedeur Sanders possibility, I guess. Steelers at 21. We're not necessarily in the room with the Sanders at this moment. So ESPN not giving it away on TV. They're just, say, the Steelers and Mike Tomlin. I mean, even if Shedeur's bad, he's still going to be a 500 quarterback just because of the fact that he's playing with Mike Tomlin. Uh-oh, chat. Are we disconnected from the YouTube? Testing 1, 2, 3. Just in time for those Steelers to not take Shedeur Sanders. We're reconnected, chat. Okay, we are back. Derek Harmon, the defensive tackle out of Oregon. Whoa, the Steelers fans love the pick. So maybe they're a trade back in team, or they could also really want Tyler Schlaw in the second. I could see that. They could be getting a little too cute, or they really are going to go for Aaron Rodgers. That could be a sign that Rodgers is the guy for the Steelers. They were trying to play possum before the draft, and maybe they still, again, we got 3 days of the draft here. We'll see how the board plays out. Rodgers, even if you bring in Schlaw, could still be a possibility. But it could be a proof that was, and I don't even know what the game of chicken would be. Maybe he is just demanding too much money. They're like, hey, can we get you on a minimum deal? And he's like, no, I still want some stuff. Of course, I still need a little bit of bread here. These darkness retreats are not cheap. But, yeah, shout out to Harmon. Maybe the first sort of out of the mix guy here, but starting to be in the best of it. Starting to really be the first guy that we're really getting upset now that Will Johnson is still on the board. The Chargers, Packers, Vikings. I don't know, chat. Do we have to start going to the Schefter Twitter? We have to start doing ooh, Jordan Love as a Cam Ward comp. Is kind of fun. I like that as a upside comp. I don't know stylistically how accurate that is, but as an upside comp, an impact level comp, Cam Ward is a Jordan Love. I mean, Jordan Love in the NFC South or AFC South would not be the most thrilling thing for the Colts to be competing against. Not necessarily, again, like a monster you feel like you have to slay. Pause, but definitely a competent quarterback that you feel like can win you some playoff games. Absolutely, if not be an all-pro team if it plays really, really well. So I like that as an upside comp for Cam Ward. Absolutely. But the Chargers, I mean, at some point, you just got to take the best player available and look at the value. The Chargers got to go corner as well. I mean, we love Asante Samuel Jr., but you really think that Chargers? Uh-oh, it disconnected again from the YouTube. They're going to be yelling at us, looking like, hey, he doesn't know where Asante. Yeah, chat, we know. Asante Samuel. Now, let's see, where's he at? Oh, he's a free agent still. Okay. So I guess there still is a possibility that he winds back up on the Chargers, or I guess I don't know if that's a reason There's something going on that we're forgetting about in the timeline. Injury, wrist twist, injury twist, I guess. Not wrist twist. We're thinking Tatum, I guess, when it comes to wrist injuries. So they brought in St. Just, I guess, and you still got Still as well, and Jackson. So, I mean, chat. If this team is not just looking at this going, how is Will Johnson still on the board? Let's pause, eat this up. Hey, yo, chat, we could have found something different to say there, but regardless, it is what it is. We're live. Can't take it back. The show goes on. You gotta be looking at Will Johnson here as a real option. I don't know. Hampton, do they go running back? What is this, Damian? Oh, Najee Harris on the Chargers? Oh, chat. Does that feel a little Melvin Gordon-y? I know Melvin Gordon went from the Chargers to the Broncos, but the reverse Melvin Gordon, I guess? I don't know. So maybe you go Hampton and just go, hey, sorry, Najee Harris. Rusher as well. Of course, you lose Bosa, so you could get a little cheaper upside guy potentially at this spot. But, I mean, I don't know if we need to do the competition aspect of it as well, too. But, I mean, come on, chat. What are we talking about here? You're going up against Mahomes. Like, we got to get some cornerback help in here. Some people to put some pressure on these receivers. Some people to keep, swarm the secondary, get some turnovers, create some plays, chat. Will Johnson's going to get turnovers. Will Johnson's going to just slide off of his man in a zone at one point. Now all of a sudden he's picking off Pat Mahomes, and I'm not saying he's necessarily always going to run it back for a touchdown, but it's definitely on the table after he has made the pick. And like we were saying, I think him and Barron, I guess I do like Hairston as well too, and make no mistake, in our run of being positive, I do also think that Hairston is a really, really good prospect. Let me pull the corners back up here and see. Yeah, Hairston. And, of course, we love our guy Morrison. Kind of interested in Porter as well, too. He seems interesting. Strong out of Virginia Tech seems a little interesting as well. But, yeah, Will Johnson and Hairston, I really, really think that they could be good pros as well, too. And, like we're saying, our guy Morrison. So, I guess you could go Hairston here if you want to go a different route. I guess if you're just not sold on that. But like we're saying, I think, and so you got Shedeur sliding because of need for quarterback. So now I think the slide can officially start. And even for Jackson Dart, I know there's a draft board thing going on here where do they have Jackson Dart in the best available overall? Let's take a look. And where do they even have Shedeur as well? We should look at that. They have Shedeur 16th on the best overall. Wow, chat. Best available. So we are at pick 22. So they had Shedeur way outside the first round on the grade. And they had Jackson Dart as the 20th best player left. So they have him almost in the 40 range for just overall players. Wow. So the ESPN ranking here is maybe very accurately reflecting what these GMs are thinking. But again, for them to pass on both of those quarterbacks in that spot when they have nothing is now we're starting to talk about a potential slide. Maybe the Vikings get super frisky and just start saying, hey, we understand the importance of the position. Let's invest. Jackson Dart, Shedeur Sanders, compete with J.J. McCarthy. Maybe we trade one of them if it looks like, we got an obvious winner. But, yeah, chat, for the quarterbacks. And I guess just for overall available people, Campbell, Green, Hampton. The slide for Sanders makes sense up until this point. The slide for Will Johnson is a little bit confusing, and then the slide for Hampton, of course, the running back thing, is just about whether or not a team wants to cave and then be in that spot of taking your running back that high in the draft. But outside of those guys, yeah, Pierce, Hairston, Campbell, Mike Green. Campbell, I think, is going to be an interesting guy in this range as well, too, with his injury. I think there might be some, had surgery to repair a torn labrum in his shoulder following the combine. So some of the year one status of him, it could be really interesting, but obviously the talent is there. And then, like we're saying, I double, triple, quadruple down on our Mike Green stock. I just keep buying more and more of it if it gets cheaper as he keeps being on the pick here. And Worry, our guy, still in the mix as a possible secondary option. So that could be another fun one as well, too. Could you have Nwori and Derwin James out there at the same time? And maybe you need an actual full-on corner, but do you need a dynamic just secondary playmaker in general? And the Chargers are using the whole clock. Jim Harbaugh taking his time, Chad. He says, let's make the NFL wait. You know he's the one pushing for it. They made the pick 5 minutes ago. He just said, let's run the clock down. He's just making the NFL nervous or annoyed or whatever the case is. Messing up the advertising schedule. Louis Riddick with the jacket quarter zip combination. Not a suit, a little like hybrid suit jacket situation that he's working with. I think he kind of pulls it all together pretty good, but it's a lot of layers to go with as well too. But it looks like it might be a layered up situation in Green Bay tonight. So we'll see where the Chargers go with this pick here. And I guess the Nuggets and Clippers are just chugging away without us paying attention. The Nuggets just up by 5 against the Clippers. NFL draft night, people are going to just not notice that Jokic is awesome. Do we just do a quick Jokic stat line check? 4 minutes left in the first quarter. Does Jokic have a triple-double yet? They need to, FanDuel needs to start setting a time point in the game, a timestamp for when will Jokic accomplish the triple-double. Ben Simmons playing fast, chat. Off the missed free throw, pause. Oh, the Grizzlies have completely turned the table on the Thunder. This is actually incredible, chat. Wow, this is almost putting me in we need to watch this game territory. Scottie Pippen Jr. is unstoppable. Who would have thought, Scott? We've been talking about this whole time. If Jokic could unseat the Thunder, Scottie Pippen Jr. can do it, chat. So, I mean, the Thunder is screwed. Billy Buckets, call in and defend your team. What's going on tonight? Dude, Lort, chat. Lou Dort, 0 for 2. Chet, 0 for 2 from 3. Cason Wallace hasn't even taken a shot yet in the game. So you got Aldama cooking tonight. I mean, it's, a classic case of a team's on fire, chat. Just I mean, 57% from the field, 52% from 3 is going to be pretty unstoppable. 13% from 3. The Thunder are liable to put up a stinker every now and then. That is for sure. But make no mistake, chat, they haven't lost by 30 at any point in the year. So for that to happen in the playoffs is a little concerning. Okay, Chargers pick is... Harbaugh passed on his own guy for a running back. Harbaugh passed on Will Johnson for a running back. What is wrong with Will Johnson? Jim Harbaugh, who coached Will Johnson, who won a national title with Will Johnson being the MVP, defensive MVP of the game. Chat, what is happening? Am I crazy? I guess I'm the insane man here. I thought I knew what I was talking about. I thought I was locked in on who the best players in the draft were. I thought Will Johnson was one of them. But apparently not, Chad. This is incredible. Hampton. So I guess, yeah, they don't believe in Najee Harris as a long-term starter there. Shout out to the Najee Harris fantasy people who thought this was going to be the time. But, I mean, if Jaylen Warren was going to compete for that running back spot, yikes. So they're really going to, I guess, try to, compete with the Chiefs, chat, overpower. Too many weapons to stop. But maybe they like the secondary guys in the second round. I don't know. But Will Johnson would have been a nice piece for him there. Do we need this, retitle this to the Where Will Will Johnson Go pod? Because that's about what it's turning into. But, I mean, he is, of course, best player available as well, too, on the other draft board. So it's not just our own bias at this point. At some point, it becomes unbiased to just, he probably should be taken. But I don't know what the stats... I mean, you start getting to the stats, like, has a team ever lost by 30 in the playoffs and then won the title? But I think there is something to that, chat, about... And again, ultimately you have to win 4 games in the series, and if you have... That's the point of a 7-game series. If you have a couple of bad games, you can overcome them and win the series still. But it's just about that level to... it just proves more so the level of which you have to play to be a champion, of course, and the consistent night-to-night excellence that you have to provide. And again, not to say that you can't have a little bit of ups and downs throughout the course of your playoffs. Not to say that every playoff run is going to be historic, teams never lose, teams just power right through. But How you lose, of course, is important as well. And the Thunder in the second half could immediately go out and hit 8 threes, 9 threes in the third quarter and cut this back to, even lose respectably as well, too, is what I'm saying. What's even the spread at this point in the game chat? Pause. Okay, they've already cut it to 25. So, I mean, yeah, look at the spread right now is OKC, or, plus 9.5, Memphis minus 9.5. So even Vegas is still like, OKC's probably going to cut this to single digits at some point. I mean, do we bet OKC? Plus 380 honestly is not good enough. I know it's OKC versus the Grizzlies, but that's maybe why it's not. Okay, plus 425. IT, get into the accounts. Get the BETSTAMP fired up. Let's see where we can get the best odds for the live line of Oklahoma versus the Grizzlies. But yeah, this is now a weird, what does this mean for their title hopes? And what does this mean for the greater Western Conference in general? Because outside of the Thunder, there was just an evenness to the rest of the Western Conference that the Thunder may now have put themselves, I guess, back in that tier as maybe the real piece of this, where they have also on the flip side, like we're saying, have had the dominant performance, but to just be like, oh, is that what this series is a little bit? Is a heat-checky series? Are the Thunder a little bit? I mean, not, of course, they are the heat-checky team. We've seen the consistency. They were almost a 70-win team in the course of the regular season. So maybe it's just the math. At some point here, they're just due for a real letdown game, and maybe they're feeling themselves a little bit as well, too. Oh, I just heard Booger McFarland say Mike Green's name. So, it's Booger McFarland talking, chat. Do we need a Booger McFarland Charles Barkley set? That could be a fun just audio. That could be a fun pod chat. I know it's video pods now, of course, but just good old-fashioned audio only. Charles Barkley, Booger McFarland, Ed Ogeron, just chopping it up. So it's got to be either Mike Green or Will Johnson to the I think we might like the end of the first round better than the top of the first round, chat. I mean, how do you not love the top of the first round? I mean, when you're getting Travis Hunter and Mason Graham. I mean, all the Michigan guys are at the top of the first round. We should love the top of the first round, of course. But like we're saying, some of these guys we have stock in. Or so is that our own drafting abilities, chat? If we were a GM, that other teams would be like, okay, thank goodness he took Mike Green in the top 15. We weren't necessarily expecting that. I'm in the clip like several years later where it's Mike Zimmer after my pick laughing at me like, oh, I can't believe you just took Mike Green. Okay, we're going to take Mikal Williams. I'm like, yeah, well, that Marshall tape is electric, chat. James Pierce, of course, highly touted draft guy going into the year. You always love to keep an eye on those guys. I mean, Will Johnson is the same thing, chat. So they're saying number one need for the Packers is a cornerback. So there's like ESPN Analytics had to say there's like a 0% chance that Will Johnson is on the table at this point. But what do we got? Hobbs and Alexander. Nate Hobbs is the other corner. So to be honest, chat, like not only is that a position of need a little bit, but Alexander, it's like the weird sort of, again, you have a star player, but the opposite of it, we've seen the Broncos with this with Surtain, where that weakness on the other side can get really exposed in a way that can almost neutralize the fact that you have a great corner on the other side of the field. If you have Will Johnson, that does get really interesting, chat. Let me actually, I'm chat. X is not necessarily the place you go to first these days for stuff. I know, again, Schefter's on there, so sometimes you got to get news, but we got to do just a Will Johnson Twitter search here real fast and just see, is it just the injuries? Will Johnson, future all-pro corner. Will Johnson has a knee issue that is concerning him. Okay, yeah, so of course it's the injury, but it must be like the long-term effects of the injury. Teams are really, really concerned. So, I mean, make no mistake, the people on X right now are really going electric. Okay, what do we got? Here's a doctor that says the procedure that Johnson had was called in... Oh, chat, is there a way I can actually... Okay, let me see if I can actually log into X real quick, chat. Okay, that's fine. Let's let this pick go in. Let's take a quick break, and then I'll log into X and read this Twitter report from Will Johnson, and then we'll resume. I'll be back on the stream. We'll read the report together and resume. That'll be the resumation. Is that a word, chat? Of the live stream? But is this going to be another they go to break 2 situation? Chat, is this our producer sense? For some reason, we're just going to break at the same time as ESPN a lot. I don't know. They just know when the boring teams are up. I don't know. Packers and Bengals are not boring teams. They're very important picks. Both teams that need their first-round guys, I think, to be impact players right away would definitely be very helpful. So, here, let me actually, since we still have time, I'll just mute this screen here real fast. I'll remember this time to actually pull it up. I say that, but we will actually see what happens. Maybe I'm already logged in as well too, but I don't know. The computer restarts itself. You get logged out. Yeah, we're logged out. So real quick, chat. Here, let me just double check, make sure. Okay, yeah, I am off the screen. Not that there's really much to be hacked into, I guess, for the Twitter. If you guys want to take, well, I guess we shouldn't just be offering our Twitter up like that. Oh, and true, Green Bay, the hometown team as well too. Should be thinking about that right away. But, oh, chat, this is what happens. You don't log in enough, or you just have your password saved, and now I actually have to remember what my password is. And I know I have an old, I have 2 because I like signed up. There was like an email and then like a phone number situation. Oh yeah, see chat. See, I'm not logged in under my normal email, so that makes things real difficult. I might have to go to break just to figure out what this password is for the X account, so I can pull this up on the screen. Or I'll have to find a way to just keep us. Oh wait, is it just asking me to verify? Chat, I can't even read the screen. Who knows? We'll see if I start creating an account here, if that's the case. Oh wait, I don't even remember my own username. This is embarrassing, chat. Remember that 5-minute stretch on the draft stream where Rem couldn't remember his Twitter information? That was an electric time. Okay, chat, yikes. This is what it is. We'll just have to let the pick go in. Pause. Hey, yo. Oh, chat, they've already given it up on the ESPN. So I guess Will Johnson is on the best available. They didn't take Will Johnson. Did they take Pierce there or Mike Green? Pierce would have been. Pierce was best fit, so I don't know if they just don't have. Vikings are kind of stacked on defensive linemen. They probably just don't have him as best fit. But finally, chat, let's get to it. Hometown team, yada yada yada. Oh, wide receiver, is it Golden? Whoa, stacking up on the offense, chat. Matthew Golden out of Texas. The Packers fans love the pick. I think they're just hyped up in the moment. I don't know if that's, you know, going to stop the the Bears, chat. It's the first team we bring up. I don't know if that's going to stop the Lions from scoring points, but I guess you can outscore them with Golden. Golden, Christian Watson, Dobbs. Whew, chat. We know that could be a potentially stacked backfield. But yeah, let's go quick break here, see if we can remember this Twitter information, catch up the Will Johnson news, react to this Packers pick. I also like the idea of Nwori as best fit to the Vikings. Totally agree, chat. Be a fun secondary option, but lots to get to after this quick break. Okay, here we go, chat. We are in. The pick is in for the Vikings as well, too, but they haven't announced it on the stage. But here, let's read this real quick, which is from 11 hours ago from our guy, Tony Reggiani, chat. Our guy's got some medical information on Will Johnson. But, yikes. Apparently has major medical red flags. Here's what Kyle Trimble, PT, DBT, has to say about it. Again, this is all quotes out of this tweet, which is screenshotted this other thing. But the procedure that Johnson had was called an osteochondral allograft transplant. Basically, they took a piece of bone and cartilage from his healthy knee and put it in his injured knee where the damaged cartilage was to try to promote healing. Johnson had this procedure in 2022. Typically, these grafts do take and hold for upwards of 10 years, so the procedure works well, but only 70% of athletes return at the same or higher level. Some studies show as high as 87% return to play. What I don't see clearly is how long their careers were, but the study that I'm seeing, and again, this is still quoting, the study that I'm seeing, 2 of 15 subjects were NFL players they couldn't return to play. So this is basically saying he has major medical concerns, but 73% of the athletes were. I don't know, Chad, that seems still pretty decent. Again, I'm biased, but. And Donovan Jackson, the guard from Ohio State, goes to the Vikings, which is a fun pick as well. But that Eamon Warri's secondary piece as just a weapon would have been a really fun piece for that defense to use. But yeah, chat, again, I was a little hesitant, you could tell, going into break about them taking a receiver, because again, you just look at this, back to the Packers pick, taking Golden. You look at their the group of weapons that they have right now at the receiver position, and between Christian Watson, Jaden Reed, and Romeo Doubs, like, maybe Golden doesn't even start. So are we getting a trade? The Giants do trade back up, chat. Is it Shedeur or is it Jackson Dart? It would be hilarious if it was Shedeur, because again, the whole point of them not taking him at 2 was that conversation with Dayball was not good. So it's like, was it so bad that you don't take him at all, or just some smokescreen stuff to try to get him available in the first round? I don't know. We should also mention as well, too, that the Nuggets went on a run here to start the second quarter, and the first quarter they are now up by 13. Or the Clippers went on a run. They are now up by 13. It's 42-29. But Golden, after he got picked, went to the microphone, the podium where the picks are announced, and addressed the crowd, which is, I don't think, something that's ever happened, Chad. And again, he's being drafted by Green Bay. It's the hometown team. Got the crowd hyped up, said, let's go, got a Packers chant going. Chat, I love the charisma. I love the confidence to step up. Like, that's almost some Anthony Edwards type, you know, that's like some real confident type stuff that he's pulling off there. And again, maybe there's not an instant need for him at receiver, but that speed is always needed. And maybe you are able to battle the Lions in a way. And like we're saying, I do think a receiver's ability to take over a playoff game is a real thing. So, oh, chat, they're in the their cameras are on Jackson Dart right now. He's high-fiving guys. Jackson Dart, the Ole Miss legacy for the Giants continues, chat. I think Jackson Dart's about to be a New York Giant. Shedeur Sanders is going to fall even farther. Yikes. Maybe 26 to the Rams, though. Who knows, chat? Who knows? But that could be a potentially dangerous pick. And the 4.29 speed, I got to be honest, maybe him over Mbuka was a real thing that should have happened. Maybe he should have been the third receiver off the board. Again, you like him in a Packers offense with a real competent system and a real competent quarterback, a real great offensive coach. But, I mean, his speed is obviously going to be impactful to Tampa Bay as well, too, if it was there for Golden. But Mbuka's going to be a really, really good player. Is it a little sort of Adunze versus Neighbors-y? Or maybe more Adunze versus Brian Thomas. I think a Neighbors was more Neighbors versus Harrison. And then Brian Thomas versus Adunze. But it's like Adunze, big body, you know, can run all the routes, still able to get the separation, the contested catches, but maybe not as explosive of an athlete as Brian Thomas is. And maybe the, you know, reverse order this year Brian Thomas did go later in the first round. And, you know, Adunze went nearly in the top 10 of the Bears. And again, it still could all be a good pick, even though Brian Thomas was awesome last year. And I still had Brian Thomas higher on my big board than Adunze. But, you know, I think the Golden and Mbuka combo is going to be an interesting one, too, to see how that plays out. And he could really impact this team if the Packers find themselves in some high-level situations. And like we're saying, it's going to be a battle for some of these corners as well, too, and some of these defensive guys as we get into the second round, of course, tomorrow. But, yeah, chat, we are really starting to tick-tock here on the end of the first round. And I know, a handful of picks where these teams are all still trade-out territory. It's crazy, chat. Shout out to the Commanders for making it this far, for being this high up on the list. But, yeah, it looks like, of course, like we were saying, the Giants are going to be taking Jackson Dart to be pairing him with, I guess, Abdul Carter in that crazy defense. So you have Russell Wilson. You have the veteran quarterback. And like we're saying, that meeting, I mean, Daboll, this must be either, and not to say that, every time a coach that makes a pick in a draft is immediately safe for the long term. If things go really bad, then it's obviously, a reset because of this pick as well, too. But it's clear that Daboll still has sway, because from what I was hearing was, from what I was listening to, from people talking, was the meeting that they had was like a personal meeting between Daboll and Shedeur, the one that was like not necessarily that great. And it was, again, the idea of Shedeur meeting in front of all the Giants, the idea of there being multiple people in the room being like, yeah, this meeting didn't go well, then that makes sense. But for Shedeur not to get, and again, to not get along with your coach one-on-one is definitely a concern as well, too. But I like Daboll as an X's and O's guy. I'm not sure exactly, and I'm not saying he's not. I think Daboll's a great guy. I mean, these are all great guys, of course. Shedeur's a great guy. Daboll's a great guy. But I'm not saying that Daboll is the easiest locker room guy to get along with. I'm not saying that he's not. But you could definitely see a little personality clash between him and Shedeur. Maybe he looks at the rollie and is like you could see Daboll being a little like, okay, that's not necessarily the thing that I'm not trying to pinhole Daboll in the wrong corner, But just in the football side of things, you could see him maybe not going for that. And I know Jackson Dart is not necessarily, not lame, chat, but maybe not the same sort of way he carries himself the way that Shedeur does. And again, this is a pro Shedeur show as well, too. But it's clear that his opinion still matters, I think, if Dart is the pick here over Shedeur Sanders. And like we're saying, the consensus of the NFL, I guess, as well, too, is Dart over Shedeur. So it's not Daboll going off the board necessarily. But what's the over-under, chat, for when Jackson Dart gets to start? I mean, I guess it's not even off the board that Jackson Dart could start week 1. I get the upside for Jackson Dart. Todd McShay said he had vibes of Josh Allen. So, I mean, chat, I'd love to see the I love the highlights when I saw Jackson Dart play, but he has and I think McShay had said something like he's always moving the offense forward, but I think that's because when Jackson Dart stops the offense, it's turnover. It's like, oh, wait, the offense is now off the field, so it's like moving forward until it's not. But let's see here, chat. Officially, it is Jackson Dart. They continue the Ole Miss legacy. I don't know, Eli, is his jersey retired yet? Can he go number 10 at Ole Miss? But he's going to have Neighbors as well, too, to work with as a weapon. That's going to be a fun potential combination to air it. I mean, even Wilson with some of the deep ball stuff, too, maybe is still fun with Neighbors in a way. But, yeah, now it's really interesting, I think, because the Browns, of course, were a trade-up team, but the Browns now sit with the, I believe, first pick in the second round. So they could just make the move to get the fifth-year option on Shedeur, which is a possibility. Or they just feel like they want to continue to be extra safe. Again, it's the quarterback. You don't want to take any chances. Let's just make our move, get up a couple picks. Maybe even, let's be splashy. Why not? I feel like some teams want to be a little splashy as well, too. And let's just secure our guy. But the Giants were the only other team to leap up and get. So maybe the Browns were in the Jackson Dart mix. But, again, I don't think, weirdly enough, I don't know if the Sanders group has been against going to Cleveland. And I know that, for one, it seemed like Cleveland was if they were going to go Colorado player, was more in the Travis Hunter mix than they were in the Shedeur Sanders mix. But, you wouldn't look at the history of Cleveland with just their franchise and go, yeah, that Deion looking for a place that he wants his son to play. Like, let's send him to the Browns. But I don't remember who it was on Rosillo's pod, but somebody was on. It was on. Make no mistake, it was on Rosillo's pod. But somebody on Rosillo's pod was talking about the type of quarterback that Stefanski is able to work with, and it is a type of quarterback, maybe like Shedeur Sanders. And if Stefanski's going to be there for the long term, maybe that continues to be a good spot coaching wise for Shedeur Sanders to develop as a pro passer. So weirdly, you could look at that and go, that is actually a good landing spot for Shedeur, again, especially considering the Stefanski element of it. So if they actually like Shedeur as well too, like, again, Tennessee has their guy, Cleveland has their guy, the Raiders I don't think are going to get aggressive for a quarterback as well. And then at that point, do the Jets want to get aggressive? Like, it would be the Steelers who don't even have their second round pick. So the Steelers really did say, hey, we either going to need to make a move for Slaw or not. And maybe the Browns want Slaw. So maybe if the Browns take Slaw at the top of the second here, that would be the big surprise. Maybe that would be them, maybe them not trading into the first round. Maybe that would be a debate there on what they're making their mind up toward. But again, they don't even have to make a move at this point. So outside of them wanting an extra year of leverage at that quarterback position, they can kind of sit still here and just, first pick day 2, open right up, get their quarterback. But what are they say? Oh, they're doing the report here on Jackson Dart. We got Falcons on the clock, so I didn't know if we get a little trade or something that could potentially happen. But the Chiefs at 30, I guess, what are they going to jump the Eagles for? Eagles, Chiefs, Bills, Commanders, Lions, Ravens. And then, where are we at right now, chat? Oh, so the Falcons traded back in, I guess. True, because they would have, picked way earlier at 15. But our guy Mike Green, and a trade back in, maybe that is Will Johnson still on the board at this point. Giants first round picks. Phil Simms, Phil Rivers traded for Eli Manning, Daniel Jones, and Jackson Dart. Chad, the Daniel Jones Jackson Dart run. We'll see how that back to back. We'll see. It's a real turning point for this franchise. Do they make good picks at the quarterback position, or do they make bad picks? Hey, yo, shout out Daniel Jones. And now the Colts quarterback. One of them. But we'll see what the history for this team is drafting quarterbacks, I guess, in that first round. So Mike Green maybe as well too. Atlanta continuing to add pass rushers. I know they took Jalen Walker earlier, so the secondary would continue to round out the defense. I don't know if there's a receiver on the board at this point. Lineman. Pierce, chat. So they said, we're done not getting it. We're done. Nope, pass rush. We don't want to hear it anymore. We're investing in the edge. We're investing in the defensive line. We're trading back up to get Pierce, who was, again, a highly valued pre-draft guy, preseason guy. Still, of course, has all the athletic traits, and I don't think necessarily played bad at Tennessee. It was just some guys played really, really well, and maybe he wasn't the best. Again, when you're projected as the best, and then you don't necessarily obviously show out as the number one, you can kind of just get bumped down a couple of spots just due to expectations. But the Falcons got the 26th and a 3rd this year. The Rams got a 2nd, a 7th, and a 1st in 2026. Wow, these teams are throwing away first-round picks. So I don't know if the Jags are looking, I don't know what's worse there, the Jags trade or the Falcons trade, but a first-round pick to move back up to 25 seems that's a little hefty, chat. I guess you're thinking immediately with this defense and Penix, you can win the NFC South. And then, do they think that they're going to be in the NFC title game the way that the Commanders were last year? Penix, not necessarily in his rookie year, but does he have the advantage of a good year on the sideline and then some good flashes at the end of the season and some good reps? And make no mistake, that defensive line combo has a potential to be immediately scary with those two guys. But it is a lot, chat. It is a lot. The interior, I guess Morgan Fox is solid. And like we said, Onyemet is solid. So the interior is pretty good as well, too. If they go London, Pitts, I think we still think Pitts could be a weapon, especially with Penix. Maybe he unlocks Pitts in a special way. McLeod did play really well as well, too. 90th out of 133. I don't think it's totally fair. Mooney, yeah. Who else do they have for receiver, chat? Do they need to invest in receiver in the... So they gave up their second this year as well, too. Wait, let's go back to this trade real quick. Get the Schefter feed pulled back up here and see. They gave up the second for this year. Falcons get first and a third. And the Rams get second, first, and seventh. And the second and seventh this year, the first next year. Mike Green and Will Johnson. I mean, the Ravens, either one of these guys is like, you know, just either of, I guess any of these teams, you know, just the best player available in this range is going to be a real steal for these next couple of players here. But yeah, so the Rams will actually have the Falcons' second round pick, but the Falcons do get the Rams' third, which is not bad. So, you know, the first in there feels still a little much, but at least you're in the range here. So what is that Rams? Is it the 90th pick here that they're getting? Because the Rams also have this third round compensatory pick, I guess. But yeah, I think they'd be getting this 90 overall pick. So they're gonna have 90, and the Patriots already had their own third. So they sort of add in a third where they don't get in. Right now, Tankathon, maybe Tankathon a little more accurate on this stuff, Chad. Shout out! This is why we follow them along, because they're right at the end of the day. Except Shedeur, Pittsburgh still hasn't quite happened yet, but who knows? Maybe in the second, they're another team as well, too, like we were saying, trades up and gets frisky from... Oh, but yeah, reminder, chat, they don't have their second round pick, so it would be the third. But yeah, then that would be maybe... I don't know, we start getting in Quinn Ewers' range for Pittsburgh. Schlaw at 71 for the Saints. Again, they were another Jackson Dart team as well, too. So I guess second round, Shedeur, Sanders, could they trade up? They're at 40. Could they jump up, you know, if the Browns just don't want to go quarterback for some reason? I don't know. Maybe they want to jump up into the first round even still and grab Shedeur, I guess, could be a possibility still as well, too. But, yeah, Atlanta is still, I think, one defensive piece here away. So the Rams will get 46. So they could, if they get one of these corners later, or again, just kind of best player available, we'll see what happens when we get to pick 90. And then what else did they get? Just that pick? And then what do they have here later, I guess? Fourth round pick. They have 118, which gets you... That's in that Dorian Strong range. Caleb Ransaw. Jalen Reed, the wide receiver for the Packers. Jalen Reed, the safety for the Nittany Lions, chat. Penn State, shout out. Let's go back to the safety big board and see here real quick. And, you know, Falcons pretty high-end talent at that position. Shout out our guy, Jesse Bates, chat. But, you know, I guess they got Fuller over there as well, too. Could this be... Well, they're not going to get in Worry anymore. But he could have been a fun linebacker, safety combination weapon for that team. But Watts, Winston, we do have a pretty good later, I think, safety class, as well as, you know, like we're saying, the cornerback class as well, too. So they could be just defensive-minded, secondary-minded in the third round. And if they end up with a good secondary option as well, too, a good complete defense with the offensive boost that they might take from just having, you know, elevated quarterback play, could make this team very scary. And I think the Bucs are still really, really formidable. And I think if Baker's still playing well, they're still obviously a pain in the NFC South. But, I mean, the Falcons are right there competing for the division as well, too, Chad. And and them just going all in the pass rush is a fun move for them in this draft as well, too. But the the Clippers have now extended their lead to 18 points with 3 minutes left in the second quarter, first half. So shout out Jokic singing his praises earlier for carrying this team, but still just a 7, 5, and 8 in this game. But, you know, not necessarily a brilliant A-plus performance in the last game. And, we'd have to really, for Jokic standards, we'd have to really peruse the tape for this one, I guess, a little more closely than we are right now. But let's see, chat, here. The Ravens are selecting Starks, the safety from Georgia. Okay, so I don't know if he was well, that's not true. I was going to say I don't know if he's the best player available, but he is, I think, the best safety available. So, with the way Hamilton is so good at the box, yo, chat. Whoa. What was Hamilton starring in Hamilton in the cast of Sinners, chat? But the way he was so good at, as a box safety around the line of scrimmage, just being attacked and flying around in that front seven. If you get, because I think Starks is the complete opposite, where Starks is such a good, pause chat, deep safety, but he's so good in the deeper secondary that the dynamic between those two guys is really, really fun. They complement each other really well, and they let you get Hamilton focused into those box rolls, pause maybe a little bit more. And the Nate Wiggins pick from last year, yeah, Wiggins is still really good. Kyle Humphrey, of course, there. I mean, our guy Awuzie, chat, Chidobe Awuzie. We've had stock all the way back to 2017, chat. Our stock in Colorado Buffalo players, I guess, started with Chidobe Awuzie. But I do like that's a good, they kind of can go sometimes best player available over a position in need, but they do balance that really well. Like the Linderbaum pick. Shout out, chat. A couple of years ago. Where it's like, yeah, this is the right range for him, but also they need him in that interior line spot. So TJ Tampa, I guess they moved him from corner to safety. Not totally surprising, but yeah, they do actually need depth there as well. So he, like we were saying, was the consensus #1 guy. I do like Eman Wari, and of course Watts as well too, like we're saying, and Mbuka. But in Wari, you have him and Kyle Hamilton. There's no way that's not dynamic. Nuggets now down by 20 to the Clippers. But since the fact that you already have Kyle Hamilton, if you can... Oh, and Goodell picked up by his safety. Rarely picked up by a guy smaller than him. But not to say that it couldn't be a little redundant. And you see Eman Wari with his 4 picks. Like, him and Kyle Hamilton can both create turnovers and wreak havoc in the secondary. But Starks, to focus on some of that pass defense stuff from a drop safety, drop safety, whatever you want to say, chat, like from that deeper free safety position, could be a good compliment to the fact that they already have Hamilton there. So nice job, of course, by the safety. And I'm sure that Stark's astrological signs aligned with what the Ravens were looking for. I don't know, Sagittarius apparently is like the best sign to take as the 27th overall pick or whatever they were looking in for. But Brian Branch, you see Brian Branch a little like, kind of a nickel corner safety guy as well too. So, I don't know if he'll get used in the same role there. Because again, you almost maybe could use Wiggins in the Brian Branch role. Humphrey, of course, is like a real outside corner as well. But either way, they need safety depth. They may even continue to invest in the secondary if the value is there. But shout out the champ. Lions on the clock. Pick 28. They're getting closer, chat, to that final goal. We will see, I guess, if this is the year. Last year was kind of supposed to be the year. But do they have to match firepower with firepower? The rest of the NFC North is gone offense. Even the Vikings went offensive line. So do they have to go with Burden? I guess Hampton's off the board. So a David Montgomery, Hampton, Jahmyr Gibbs combo would be crazy. But again, the Lions is just one of the more complete rosters in the league. I mean, to be honest, chat, what would we start looking like? Just because they're so stacked everywhere else, like you'd start looking at quarterback for like where they would need to upgrade. But I think we think Goff can at least get him into the Super Bowl, of course. But Will Johnson, if you just want to continue to go best player available, chat, how many picks is Will Johnson not going to go tonight? Hey, yo, pause. But Will Johnson and Shedeur Sanders left on the board for the second round. The best second round of all time. It could be in play. We were talking about how much we love the end of the first round. The second round. The Rem and Sam all draft favorite players are all going to be second rounders. E-Man Worry, chat. Our all draft team of just guys of our ideal team we want to build. Will Johnson and E-Man Worry in the secondary. Shedeur Sanders at quarterback. I don't know. We might probably end up going Cam Ward at the end of the day. But yeah, you know, from a fandom perspective, the pick is in a very calm and collected Alliance war room. A very, you know, probably still getting to know each other. I don't know. I guess we didn't look. Did they go promotions from within, or how did they get all those? It was more about the guys that left than it was about the guys that managed to step up. So that's probably why it's a little maybe slimmer of a war room than others. They didn't necessarily replace players in the same way, Chad. But, oh, spoiler alert. Tyleik Williams? Tyleik Williams from Ohio State. So now we have 3 Ohio State players from, you know, outside the top 15, 3 Ohio State players, 3 Michigan players inside the top 15. So I don't know if this is just a message to the greater football world, the recruiting community out there. You know, Bryce Underwood, say what you want about the spring game, but still the #1 overall quarterback in the class. Still, I think, again, true freshman playing against the Michigan Wolverines defense in the spring game. So just remember that Michigan is a national university, chat. But defensive interior is where they want to stack the depth. And I guess defensive line, if you're going to make that Super Bowl push, what is the one? You know, you're not drafting Shedeur. So, you know, you got maybe Hendon Hooker if you want to get real tricky for your quarterback spot going forward. But that defensive line depth, just keep getting guys, keep getting rotation. I mean, you have McNeil on the deal, chat. You got DJ Reader in there now. And now you add a guy like Williams, just another rotation piece. Could be now a real strong interior rotation. Davenport, of course, on the edge is a guy that we've always really liked. And their safety play is so strong that, you know, it's going to make life easier for those corners. You get Arnold in year 2. Maybe he's even more locked down and just his presence, you know, is taking up more of the field versus what it was in year 1. In year 1. And then DJ Reed as well, too. You forget about that free agent signing. But, you know, Carlton Davis last year and then DJ Reed this year, chat, they just continue to upgrade and continue to get better. So they got instant starters. Instant, you know, Pro Bowl level players. And you forget as well Amik Robertson. But I was thinking, who's the guy that they took in the draft last year? Rakeshaw? Something like that? Enos Rakeshaw? You love a good Enos, chat. Hey, yo. Hey, yo, pause. But they also took him in the second round, if I'm not mistaken. Is he still on the team? Yeah, junior, chat. Shout out our guy from Missouri. But, and Rocky Yassin is now in the mix as well, too. So he has now been on Team Rem and Team Champ. We'll see if he has a Chiefs run at some point. Maybe a Lions run. Just a Broncos run, chat. How many of the Rem and Sam Universe teams can he play on? Rocky Sin. We need to start having like Rem and Sam bingo for all these teams in the Rem and Sam Universe, guys that play for all the team, and then we could have like a Hall of Fame of Rem and Sam bingo guys. We'll work on that, chat. Off-season pod. Lock it in. Stay tuned. Subscribed. But yeah, the Lions continue to stack up, continue to be a scary roster, and hopefully the coaching talent depletion doesn't necessarily do too much for him. But again, the Commanders an interesting team. You love to see them this high in the draft, and because of the quarterback expectations, they are going to be viewed as a team that is going to be, you know, what do we want to say, contending team or competitive team, however you want to phrase it. But they are going to be viewed in that range, and they still continue to spend and to make some moves, get some money, and you know, bring in some guys. You know, bringing in Lattimore at the trade deadline, maybe you get better performance from him full year 2. But they still could be not necessarily a step back team, but, you know, getting to the conference championship game is a pretty good task. So being ahead of schedule one year, like if they lost in the divisional round, it wouldn't necessarily be, I think, big picture, like disaster struck. But you go, okay, there is a tolerance now that has been built with the fact that Jaden Daniels is able to accomplish so much in the first season. So this is definitely a guy that can be a useful player. Like you see, of course, they bring in a lot of veterans, and, you know, even a guy like Lattimore, if he's not Marshawn Lattimore of the past, he's still a starter level cornerback. You get, you know, Dietrich Weiss in there on the edge, Armstrong, like, you know, just a bunch of solid veteran guys that can really do their job. Pause. But, you know, this could be a Mike Green team for sure. Continue to build out some of the edge stuff. Let's see who their third corner is right now, chat. Jonathan Jones. What do they got? 2 Patriots players? Shout out. Bringing the staff over to the Commanders team. So I don't know. Who would the Patriots draft here? Maybe that's where we need to look for the Commanders, I guess. But best available left on the board outside of Shedeur, chat. Will Johnson, Hairston, Campbell, Green, Siemens. You know, Eamon Worry would be fun here too. Maybe they just go Eamon Worry, because we've got some corners, some edge. We got all defense here, and they definitely need that help as well. But is that going to be the side of the ball that they go for? Yeah, Tunsil as well too, chat. Investing in the offensive line in the offseason to protect Daniels. Shout out. I mean, the man was awesome against the blitz, so you're like, you know, we don't need to protect him. We'll just let the man be awesome against the blitz. But if he actually has time, then holy cow, look out. Maybe you add a weapon as well. Who else were we saying was a receiver? Just to refresh it. Oh, Higgins? You know, Higgins could be in the mix here. Did Trey Harris have a crazy 40 time? Rashee Rice is the comp. Higgins? What do we got? Nico Collins? Oh, Connerly, chat. The tackle. Not the Commanders fans. Not really present, apparently. Not a big cheer from the Commanders fans. Or just poorly mic'd up. Maybe we need to give him the benefit of the doubt. But like we're saying, Tunsil on one side. So Connerly, he's definitely a tackle, right? Or was he in the guard ranking? So I don't know if you need to necessarily be kicking him to left guard. But oh no, he was a guard. Was he not? Oh, he was selected as a player, which is why he wouldn't be on best available. For the actual position. Yeah, he is a tackle, chat. So you're thinking him at right tackle, if Tunsil can hold that spot down. And Cosme, I think, does a good... Yeah, Cosme's a good job, a good guard, for sure. Allegretti, yeah, you know, maybe you're looking at that some other point in the future. But get those tackles locked down. You know, like you say, you spent for the veterans on defense who can just kind of be solid. And if somebody can step up and make big plays, then absolutely that's awesome. But at the end of the day, protect Jaden Daniels. Let Jaden Daniels be awesome. And you have some weapons as well, too, to surround him with, and that have let this team be successful over the past couple of years. So Buffalo at pick 30, Josh Allen. You know, speaking of the Sinners movies, chat, just trying not to think about it, skipping through certain scenes maybe really quickly. Unfortunately, the defining movie of Haley Steinfeld's career, I don't know if he'll ever be able to watch it, and especially her role in there, just like the pivotal scenes that she's in, chat. It's unfortunate for our guy, but what do you do? I mean, it's what you sign up for when, you know, when you're with somebody in that profession, chat. So I'm not saying I'm against it either. Would I take a couple of... Hey, yo, chat, pause. But would I risk a couple of scenes with MBJ for, you know, you say a life. You never know what happens in life. But for a hypothetical life with Haley Steinfeld, chat, yeah. I mean, I think it's probably worth the trouble. And, you know, it's professionally, respectfully, hopefully respectfully, she spits in his mouth, I guess, professionally. It's all, you know, hopefully, I just, like, I guess maybe what I would do is I would read the script. I want to see, like, every edit of the script and then just know what moves were improvised. Like, did Coogler write that in? Like, Coogler obviously was making the movie a steamy movie. Make no mistake. But was he, like, fully putting in every beat of... Hey, yo, pause. But was he writing in every beat of now Haley Steinfeld straddles Michael B. Jordan and spits in his mouth? Hey, yo, and now we've... now we've officially crossed over into an 18-plus stream. IT is going to have to do a little work for the edits after this. But, oh, Sam's in the chat. Shout out, Sam. Chiefs are about to be on the clock here after the Buffalo Bills. What do we think about Tyler Warren? I mean, we know Tyler Warren's going to be a great player. What do we think about drafting a tight end at 14? Is always going to be a team-building question. But we also saw what Brock Bowers was able to do for the Raiders last year. So there's no, I mean, you know, got him to the 6th pick in the draft, Chad. So in terms of impacting winning, again, it's going to be up to what Anthony Richardson does. But you see what an impact the tight end can bring in year one. And the confidence that, you know, we were just looking at Brock Bowers going, we know he's going to be a good player. He was awesome in year one. And we go, the Raiders absolutely got the right move with that pick. So, just like we were saying earlier, continue to supercharge the offense by bringing in that type of weapon. And like we were saying for him over Colston Loveland as well, the versatility with him as a blocker is important. You know, you want to, I don't know if it, you know, clown on it's the right word, but or maybe even underrated. Like, I think we all get it. Maybe you just don't want to talk about it. But it is what it is. It's still a valuable factor in his game. It is something that the Colts like if we're gonna draft a tight end, maybe I haven't liked the way that we've been drafting our tight ends as of late. Some of the swings we've been taking in the later rounds, I go, okay, I don't know if this prospect has checked the boxes in the way that, in some of the skill stuff, the way that I would necessarily have wanted to if you know, if Rem and Sam are running the team. But I mean, Tyler Warren's obviously, if we're taking a tight end, Tyler Warren's a tight end that we're taking. Make no mistake. Again, it just becomes, in a perfect world, is this the position that we're taking at that spot? But, like, also becomes an immediate starter on this team, so it's a win in that in that regard as well, too, chat. But, and it's not even a value thing as well. Like, you know, could we get Tyler Warren in the second or later in the draft? Like, no, like, we're not going to get Tyler Warren later in the draft. But just, and Kelsey with the Chiefs, like, I mean, Sam knows the importance of a tight end. It's more the importance of, you know, elite catchers, elite playmakers, elite guys that you can rely on third down situations. And that's really the other portion of the Colts specifically. And they're like, yes, we need a tight end. We need a guy that can chat block. Oh, hey, yo. Do all those things. But do we need a guy that's reliable in that way too? Like, hopefully Pittman can be that. Downs can be that. You know, Mitchell, I don't know if he's like a 3rd and 7 guy, but I think he could be and is still a big play threat with those other guys on the field. So we'll see how it impacts the team as a whole. And again, some of these guys that we left on the board, but Warren's going to be a good football player. Make no mistake. There's no doubt about that, chat. Is he going to be in the Rookie of the Year mix the same way Bowers was? Remember, again, Neighbors got hurt and missed some games. I mean, he only missed like 2 games, 3 games, so still was able to complete a, you know, majority of the season. But definitely, maybe if we're going rookie impact scale, rookie PFF grade, Tyler Warren definitely first team all rookie PFF by the end of the season. Maybe the highest ranked player at his position. I mean, maybe just in general could easily have the highest PFF grade of any rookie next year. For sure. Maxwell Hairston. Definitely you know, again, a Bills-ish pick. Sort of a lengthy pause, skinnier corner that, you know, in theory could hold up one-on-one on the outside. Obviously, Elam in the past maybe didn't work out the same way that you're going to hope Hairston did. But Hairston over Johnson, chat, now that one hurts. That one feels personal. Benford, Tre'Davious White? Was he... yeah, I was going to say he was on the Rams, but I guess he's back. They brought it back, chat. People, you're always running it back, so at some point you're going to run it back with these players as well, too. You're going to run it back with Tre'Davious White. But make no mistake, Hairston's going to step right in and take Tre'Davious White's spot. Oh, the Chiefs have traded the pick. The Chiefs trade to Philly. Whoa. Whoa, Sam, are you in the chat? What are we thinking about this? Philly just wins in the Super Bowl and now you want to do business? You want Philly to go, wait a second, what player do you want? So, I mean, Philly, the secondary was the position of need last year, and it seemed like they fixed that. But, I mean, Will Johnson, chat. It's Howie Roseman thinking best available. And as well, too, the Bills needing a corner, taking Hairston over Will Johnson. Maybe Howie Roseman's making his move right now. So, Casey goes back to 30, and they only move up one spot. So Shedeur Sanders. I feel like they need to get in front of Cleveland for some reason, and Mike Green as well too. Either of these picks would be awesome. Mike Green to the Chiefs, maybe Will Johnson to the Chiefs, could be fun. But they get the Eagles get or the Chiefs get number 164 as well too from the Eagles. So to move up one spot is not bad, I guess. Do they think that they're going to also take this guy as well, too? Or is Philly trying to trade now for something else? Because we're getting some... Okay, the pick is in. Yeah. We got to give him time to walk it to the stage. We know. But could this be maybe Eamon Worry, an attacker? But it could be Mike Green as well, too, if they feel like they want to replenish some of the... like they lost Sweat. Like we said, they've lost Reddick. So you get Nolan Smith still there. You still have the interior guys. But if you want the full package and that continued depth, that continued rotation, maybe it's a guy like... who do we just say, chat? Where's our list again? Why am I blanking? Who did we just say? Yikes. Eamon Worry was on the board. I don't know, chat. Will Johnson. Oh, well. It is what it is. But, defensive line. Mike Green. How can we forget about a guy Mike Green? Shout out. Where's Mike Green? He's too high up on this list to scroll to. Yeah, there he is. Shout out. But Jahad Campbell still on the board. Top 20 pick. I don't think him sliding out of the first round is necessarily super surprising. But, again, Mike Green is a Marshall guy. So does he fit the profile for Howie Roseman? Jahad Campbell, Alabama guy. Does it have to be a major school SEC player for our guy Howie Roseman to be invested? Pierce is off the board at Tennessee. So maybe not him. I don't know if South Carolina is a high enough prestige program for Eamon Worry, for Howie Roseman to be looking that direction. But maybe that's why Will Johnson makes sense, chat. Blue blood school. I guess Cooper DeJean's from Iowa, so we're talking football legacy. Really good, but not necessarily that it's the same as Georgia. It is what it is. But second half now underway. Clippers Nuggets. Clippers up by 18 with 10 in the third quarter here. Kawhi, the attack. Oh, the connection issue. We've got a Kawhi Leonard bounce situation. It's just froze right on the pause on the rim. Are we going to refresh? I think the Wi-Fi is good. I just think the league pass is tweaking right now, chat, here. We got quick league pass reset. Real fast. Uh-oh, wait. Is it a Wi-Fi issue? No, I don't think so. Did that TV inject? I think the TV might have just froze, and not the streamer, because it is not loading here on the Roku app. Okay, chat, it is what it is. Quick timeout to get the TV reset. We're gonna have to. What's the first piece of IT? Oh, wait. Are we back? Okay, we're back. Let's go. I know somebody in the IT chat. Oh, yeah, it was the League Pass app. It was freezing. It was tweaking. It just collapsed on us. Somebody in the chat was going to be like, have you tried restarting it? Yes, we will try restarting it. of course. But Philly, I guess, or KC then will. I think they just wanted to pretend like they were the Super Bowl champions. They're like, we can't actually win the Super Bowl, so we'll trade back and draft from the 32nd spot. If anything, 3 consecutive years from drafting at 32. Or, I guess they've traded around a little bit in the past couple of years as well. But 3 consecutive years of holding the 32nd pick in the draft. I don't know if there's some pride in that. The Thunder down. Oh, it's still 22, but end of the third quarter. So yeah, the Grizzlies, chat, with the dominant win. The Clippers, or dominant performance here through 3 quarters. Dominant, on pace for a dominant win. And the Clippers as well too. Once they're taking the series home, and then it being this decisive, with it being close to Denver, of course, is concerning. I mean, it's great to see the Clippers have home court advantage means something like this as well too. Maybe that's the biggest takeaway from this game, Chad, is, and again, we're watching this game on mute as well too, so we can't really tell too much, but maybe the vibes of this game actually mean something home court wise for the Clippers, because just the discrepancy, the performance here, the discrepancy is much bigger than the first couple of games. Obviously, game 4 adjustments, we'll see what happens here. But yeah, shout out, a lot of our guys are still gonna be on the board. So assuming that this team that we have for wish list guys is actually going to be an all second round team, Simons, they could go offensive line, best player available from the offensive line, like we're saying. Campbell from Alabama on Tankathon's mock. Stewart's gone. Yeah, everybody else is gone so far. Harmon, Zabel, Booker got drafted, right, chat? Let me double check here. Yeah, Booker is off the board. Did he go? That's right. Hip to which the Chargers. Booker went to the Cowboys. That's right. Booker to the Cowboys. So here we go. Pick is in for Howie Roseman in the Eagles. Giving up 164 overall to move up 1 spot. It is Jahad Campbell. So he does go SEC. Howie Roseman just wants SEC players in the front 7 that have been awesome, Chad. I mean, you can't blame him. The team that he has is stacked. You get a little versatility with Campbell as well, too, in the maybe some of the way you can move him around, sort of linebackery to blitzery, edge rusher type guy. So I don't know, honestly, like KC, yes, they obviously could use a good defensive player like Campbell, but they need offensive line. Simons on the board is, and I don't know if there's injury stuff with Simons as well too, Chad. Let's take a look here, but this could be a real win for Kansas City. Started 13 games at right tackle at San Diego in 2022, 19 games at left tackle in Ohio State in the past season, missed most of 2024. Oh, patellar tendon, and didn't work out at the combine. But the expectation will be ready for the start of the 2025 season. His arms are too short, yet he takes quick and sound angles, pushing out to speed rushers, delivers a strong punch at the top of the pass set, mirrors well, and is tough to beat when he gets his hands inside. He can seal the edge, work up to the second level, cut off backside defenders in the run game, making him a good hey, yo, Chad, I think I said spit there, not something else. But making him a good fit for zone-heavy schemes. He can get into position to wall off defenders on man gap runs. Simmons is not an overpowering mauler, but played with more of an edge on his 24 tape than he did on his 23 tape, with a comp to Teron Armstead. So if they wanted to go offensive line tackle, that would be the best available. Ursi from Minnesota, I guess, if they want to start looking down the board. Or, yeah, we could start dipping into that guard range. But what do they even have here on team needs for Kansas City? Edge, tackle, corner, running back. A defensive tackle, we should have mentioned. And then offensive tackle way down the list as well. So, yeah, it could be running back, but like we're saying with these other teams, they could solve that a little bit later as well. So the Chiefs already knew who they were going to take. Their pick is in. They'll just easily collect Howie Roseman, just the tariff for winning the Super Bowl, I guess, on the Chiefs is the 164th pick in the draft because he needs the one-spot move for Jahad Campbell. So Shedeur Sanders, chat, we will have to wait a little, like less than 24 hours, 20 hours, 18 hours, I don't know, however many hours before Shedeur Sanders goes. I mean, make no mistake, you imagine Shedeur Sanders is going to be the 33rd pick in the draft? But at this point, I don't know, maybe he's going to go in the second round. We know that. That's not the question. I guess the question, I said he was going to go in the first round. That's not the question, but he's going to go in the second round. Like, you're seeing him on boards in the 40 range. I mean, again, like, he hasn't dropped off, I don't think, as like a top 50 prospect. But the Saints needing a quarterback at 40, I think, are gotta be the farthest he's going to slide in the draft. Even the Raiders at 37, if he's still there. Let's be honest, chat. The Raiders or the Browns, let's get him on the Raiders. Why not? Titans at 35 takes Shedeur. Take the ultimate version of the RG3 Kirk Cousins scenario, and just there's no way that you're going to have a better. Then Jackson Dart, that's going to solidify the fact that Jackson Dart, will be the best quarterback in the draft. But yeah, Eamon Wari, of course, shout out. Maybe him to the Chiefs here. And I know that they spent some in free agency for offensive line, but I don't know if they feel like they're set at that as well. I mean, they lost Tooney. So, yeah, what is this? Jalen Moore. Yeah, he was the one that started like 12 games for the Niners. You still got Jawan Taylor there. So, worst case scenario, could Simmons play for Taylor at right tackle? Or you kick him into guard, Trey Smith or Kingsley Suamatia, chat. Not great on the grade. So, I mean, left guard as well, too. But, I mean, secondary, a fun linebacker, safety, secondary weapon like Eamon Wari, I could see as well. Or they just go Mike Green, the pass rusher, and just pair him across from Karlaftis. That could continue to be a dangerous combo as well. I think any of these guys could be awesome. Oh, they go Simons, chat. Yeah, from Ohio State, of course. Of course. You love to see it. So, shout out, chat. Wow, fun first round. You love to see it. I mean, make no mistake, chat. We will be back, of course, again tomorrow as well, too. It's got more playoff basketball. Second round, a continued stack second round. It feels like there's still, equivocal level of talent on the board here. The tiers are slowly, like, maybe there are definite tiers in this draft, but again, maybe they're not like actual definite tiers. They're just tiers that you kind of have to feel like, okay, we can't put everybody in this tier. There's just a slow, maybe it's not a tier this year. It's like a draft gradient, just like a slow sort of work your way down the board. There's good talent all the way throughout and good players. Who will be the next pick? Got to be Shedeur, chat. We vote Shedeur? Oh, it's a score for us. I thought it was a vote. Well, I guess we'll see what happens. But they could go, I guess the tackle is off the board. Again, we're now even in like just straight up, best player on the board. Shedeur, come on, we're talking top 35 football player in this draft. What are we doing here? The DNA upside, all of it, chat. The DNA upside, hey, yo. I know that's a reason to take a guy in the second round. But, yeah, we'll be back tomorrow, chat. Quick scan here of the first round. Real quick, of course. McMillan to the Panthers, jumping out as a fun pick. And then Mbuka to the Bucks was kind of fun as well, too. Harmon to the Steelers, which honestly, what does this do for him, chat? Again, supercharges that defensive line in a way. It sets yourself up for Cam Hayward. Like, they really must feel like there's some real long-term, of course, any first-round pick, but that's just not we need depth there. So I guess you put him, 3-4 on that edge spot. And then I guess he can start right away when you rushing 5 Benton is your nose. Keanu Benton, and then of course the dynamic pass rushing duo of Highsmith and Watts. I mean, those three guys, Harmon's life's gonna be super easy. I mean, he's gonna be able to impact right away. And they do get Slay in the secondary, so I guess they feel good about their chances to compete and hold up, especially with Joey Porter Jr. in year 2 as well, chat. But yeah, Darius Slay staying in Philly, or staying in Pennsylvania, but changing cities anyways. So that is fun. I mean, you know, they could have obviously upgraded their offensive line as well too, and maybe you just go another weapon. Hampton was just off the board, so maybe they were a sneaky Hampton team if he was on the board. But like we said, they can address that later in the whoa, chat. There we go. Let me get the camera back up. What happened? We disappeared. A buzzer beater mistake, chat. We had to get one mistake in before we ended. And here we go. Let's see. Yeah, back up and running. Perfect timing, chat. As we close this thing down. So, shout out to the Clippers, like we said, who it looked like are going to get a win and go up 2-1 on the Nuggets here, and the Grizzlies as well, you know, getting a win on the Thunder in the playoffs. But welcome to the Colts, Tyler Warren. We'll see who joins you as the newest member. What's our actual pick? 45. So even Worry, can we get to 45? Our other two defensive, Will Johnson, can we get to 45? How bad's that medical thing actually? But him or even Worry, I guess, would be our early wish list guys for day 2. But shout out, you can subscribe here on the YouTube to join us tomorrow, of course, or you can just join us tomorrow if you want. Either way, we'll be here. Draft coverage, NBA playoff coverage. Of course, the episodes go up as podcast feeds on Spotify and Apple and all the other podcast platforms as well, so you can catch them over there when they drop there. And the DMs are open on Instagram at REMINGTOM on Instagram. If you guys want to send us a message, don't be afraid, chat. Feel free to hit us up in the DMs. Chat, if you guys are just getting the urge to DM somebody, I mean, don't send us whatever those DMs are that you're urgent about, but just maybe get the DM part of the urge out of the way, and then, you know, hey, yo, pause. Take care of your other urge another way. Hey, yo, chat. But, okay, great way to wrap it up. Hey, speaking of wrapping it up, chat, that's exactly what, we'll do with this pod episode anyways. Wind it down. Go digest all the first-round picks. Finish up a couple of these snacks. Hey, yo, and then be ready for round 2 tomorrow, chat. Round 2, round 3. Rem and Sam pod on the clock.